Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome everyone to the latest edition of the ultimate Cleveland sports show. Along with Mikey McNuggets and G. Bush, I'm Adam the Bull. We got Earl, we got Anthony, and we got Steve behind the glass. A lot to get to today, fellas. The Guardians' winning streak came to an end 2 days ago. Hopefully they started a new one yesterday. They did get the first win against Colorado. A possible trade in the NBA involving the Cavaliers. We'll get to that later. We got a top 5 list today, plus OTAs coming to an end. Could we soon see a wholesale change to the offseason program in the NFL? G. Bush, I haven't seen you since last week. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just hanging out, kicking it. Weekend was good,
We have to give G his flowers real quick.
For what?
Because every time G's not here, we seem to talk about his headlines for the Ultimate.
Oh, yeah, right. That's right. I didn't get a chance to watch this podcast yet. No, I saw the headline, and I haven't watched it yet.
And we give you kudos, G. This is all like... And I was doing just some research, looking at the back end of our YouTube page. Our number one viewed video in the month of May was Colin Cowherd's controversial take on the Browns. So, G. Bush, just want to let you know you are absolutely killing it with the SEO game. You are killing it on the YouTube front. We should expect this from G because he had his own little niche in YouTube and had a lot more experience than you, Bull, or Jay, or Jason in that realm before we all dove into this project. But G. Bush continues to find ways, and especially the Deshaun Watson trade. I'm not sure which is the real truth or which is the truth 3.0 or 77.0.
Yeah, man.
But G's going to keep telling you the darn truth on the Deshaun Watson trade.
It's an art to it. There's the simple truth. There's the real truth. There's the dark truth.
What about the basic truth?
There it is. Like
the advanced, the complex, the simple.
It's all about your adjectives, man. You know what I'm saying? When you use those and thought that they're like, hold on. And they be pumped. And they be, and they go, I'm not going to give away too much.
Because you got to watch it. You got to watch it.
That's right.
The thumbnail is key. The thumbnail needs to drive and be the supporting factor of your title. Yeah. So, you got to have your stuff and you put it in there and people be looking like, man, what does Princess Diana have to do with
Deshaun Watson?
No, Nick Chubb. You see, you get two people. Is that
the next headline?
No, 2 people. No, it isn't. I just came up talking about man.
You should do that.
But
if you can find a way to make that happen, I would love to see that video.
Princess Diana and Nick Chubb. They're 2 adorable people. Everyone loves them.
Yeah.
I got to think about that.
So, as I mentioned, the Colin Cowherd's controversial Browns take was our most viewed video in the month of May so far.
Yeah.
It's been viewed over 20,000 times. Now that people have seen enough on YouTube, do you want to tell us what that controversial take was?
So his take, he came out and he said, look, he picked the Browns to come in last in the AFC North.
I don't know if that's controversial.
Right?
But when you write it like that, you got to click on it to find out.
Like that's wild to me. It was crazy.
I mean, I look at the AFC North. I think any team can finish in any order, in my opinion. Don't you think so?
I mean, I wouldn't pick the Browns to come in last.
I think they could. I'm not picking them to finish last, but I don't think it's impossible to think it's
also you have to know your audience.
Oh, well, certainly.
And G does.
Yeah.
The People's Champ certainly knows the UCSS
audience. We put up some poll, or somebody, it was actually the fan put up some poll when it comes to, somebody put up a poll. I happen to see this, but this is right up your alley. It was like, was Deshaun Watson's game against Baltimore last year?
It was Lima this morning.
Lima put it up, right. Yeah. Was it one of his 10 best games ever, which I don't even think it's close to one of his 10 best games ever, and over half the fans said yes, it was one of his 10 best games ever.
It shows you half the fans haven't seen him play a game in Houston.
Well, or don't care, or just whatever.
Or they're projecting. They're listen, in my head, this is why if Deshaun Watson plays well, are you serious? It's going to blow up. It's going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Absurd.
I was talking with Field Yates for my podcast today. It'll be out later today.
Oh, Field Yates, okay.
Listen, I got connections. What are you going to do? He likes me.
Steve Becker, let's get Field Yates
on the show. We talk fantasy football, but we also talked about the Browns. And he does have some serious concerns about Nick Chubb coming back, which, and he loves Nick Chubb like I do. Everybody loves Nick Chubb. But, when I talked about the Adrian Peterson thing, he's like, this injury is way more serious than what Adrian Peterson went through.
Did I hear? Oh, I forgot. I might not say this rumor.
Yeah.
But I got some sources on this LeBron James thing. Yeah.
LeBron coming back.
Listen, man, one of my sources, on the ground level says, he feels like, LeBron and Savannah are moving back to Akron.
But everybody has consistently said Savannah has no interest in moving back.
Also, Bronny James today said he's sticking in the draft and is only going to work out for 2 teams.
Oh, he is?
Phoenix and the Lakers. Declined workouts with every other team besides
He
Phoenix
had said he was going to leave the draft, and what was his...
Well, when you put your name in the draft, you have a deadline to then withdraw.
Right.
And he said, I'm leaving my name in. I am going to be part of the 2024 draft, but I'm declining all workouts except for Phoenix and the Lakers.
I heard LeBron is building a $100 million house in L.A.
In L.A. There's a lot of rumors out
Source
there.
battle.
We'll get to
Source battle.
We're not going to get to that. Well, no LeBron source battle coming up later.
We can't have a LeBron source battle without Jason Lloyd here.
No.
LeBron's right-hand man.
We are going to start with the Guardians here in just a moment. First, we'll say hello to Earl for the first time today. Hello, Earl.
What up, boy? How you feeling today, man?
Every time I text Earl now, I always have to remember that he's listed as Pearl in my phone because I start to text Earl, and nothing. And the first thing that pops up for whatever reason is Iron Eagle starts popping up. And I'm like, I don't need to text Iron Eagle. I need to text Earl.
Do you remember Pearl from 227?
Oh, of course.
I did that with you. I go to text Bull, but you're Adam, real last name in my phone. I don't know why it is
Why
like
don't
that.
you just change it in your phone?
Because now it is what it is.
Yeah.
So if I change it, I'll get confused. So I'm stupid like that. Once you're in my phone as something, I can't change it.
I go through and delete people out of my phone sometimes.
That's a good
You
idea.
ever do that?
No, but I should.
No, I keep
All right,
it.
Earl.
I can tell y'all this, though. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to get to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Bull.
Yes.
Josh Naylor homered twice.
He did.
Jose homered. David Fry homer, and the Guardians beat the Rockies 13-7.
It looked more like the Broncos and the Browns.
Yeah.
But the Browns was kicking a couple of field goals. But indeed, it was the Guardians. And it was a funny game because 2 games in a row, the Guardians have not pitched well, at least the starting rotation. Guardians had a 2-0 lead. Rockies tied it at 2. They had a 4-2 lead. Rockies tied it at 4. They had a 7-4 lead. Rockies tied it at 7. Then the Guardians got 3, and then I think 3 again to make it 13. And they win 13-7. Tristan McKenzie struggled for the second straight start. He did have 9 strikeouts over 5 innings, which is good, but he gave up 5 runs, including 2 home runs.
2 homers.
He's given up 5 homers in his last 2 starts, which is, 9 innings or 10 innings? That's the negative. The bullpen, the first couple of guys that came in didn't pitch great, but Kate Smith did a good job. Hunter Gaddis did a good job. And so the back end pitched well. They didn't need to use Clase because they were up by 6 runs. But the story is the offense. Not only, I wouldn't even want to touch Jose Ramirez right now because you may burn yourself.
Yeah.
That's how hot he is. It's ridiculous. And Josh Naylor, who, after he carried the team the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, had been ice cold recently. He hit 2 home runs. One of them was just absolutely destroyed.
Just monster shot.
Yeah,
Monster shot.
and so he's got 15. Jose has 16. They've got, 96 RBIs, I think, between them, something like that already. Yeah, 96 ribbies.
56 and 40, yeah.
David Fry again. He's got 7 home runs. He's third on the team, I think.
That's the most
it's
impressive
incredible.
part. David Fry.
Save David Fry for 1 second
yeah.
because we have to talk about it.
Right.
Jose Ramirez over the last month
Unreal.
has been the best player in baseball.
Yes.
And frankly,
Maybe Aaron Judge. Right there, the 2 of them.
okay, you can make case 1 and 2.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
over
yeah.
the last 22 games, I pulled the numbers. Jose
Yeah.
Ramirez over the last 22 games. So
Yeah.
essentially 3 weeks and change,
Yeah.
essentially the month of May. He's hitting .337, 11 homers, 31 RBIs, 18 runs scored. He has as many home runs as he does strikeouts in the month, which is absurd in today's day and age
That's
of baseball.
crazy.
Over the last 7 games, he's hitting over 400. He has 5 home runs, 15 RBIs.
Yeah.
And his OPS, which I'm saving that stat for David Fry, we'll get to.
Yeah.
Over the last week, we talked about Barry Bonds in overtime and those crazy OPSs.
Yeah.
1.648 over the last week, which would be an all-time MLB record. Obviously,
Right,
it's 1
right.
week, not
Yeah,
over the
yeah.
course of the season. But what Jose's doing right now, after the start he had, it was up and down. It wasn't bad, but it was kind of inconsistent.
Okay. Yeah.
He has been absolutely incredible. He has been worth every dollar the Guardians paid. He's been worth every dollar the Guardians paid times 2, and that's still underpaying for what he's been the last month. And you can't ask for a superstar to play better than Jose Ramirez has over the last month. In the month of May, maybe Aaron Judge, you're right.
Yeah.
It is Jose, it is Aaron Judge, and it is everybody else.
Yeah, bring up that stat again, guys. If you could bring up that, because I just want to highlight that for a second, that last graphic you had there. Jose has 56 ribbies, 38 runs, 16 homers, and 8 steals. The only other player in Major League Baseball history to do that in the team's first 55 games. I know it's kind of some oddball numbers, but whatever. Ken Griffey Jr. So you're in a class with just Ken Griffey Jr. That's pretty amazing.
Pretty damn impressive.
Jose, you know, the underrated part about that stat is, you know, I've been watching him. He's been running the base paths great. Like that's an underrated part of his game.
Yeah.
The way he's able to steal bases, the way he's able to force sometimes bad throws because he gets down the line a lot quicker than I think people give him credit for. Also, he's been playing a great third base. I mean, the dude is playing an all-around game, and the thing that I like the most is he's showing you power from both sides of the plate. He's seeing the ball very well, and he's putting together – he's hit home runs in this streak where he's just fighting off pitches. And then it's so difficult to like fight off pitches, and then to get to the pitcher to make a mistake, and then you hit that mistake out of the park. So I thought the last couple of years prior to this, Jose, he was still himself, but he wasn't a mistake hitter like he is right now. If you make a mistake right now, that's in the seats.
He's locked in.
Before you make a mistake, he may hit it into the gap, or he bloop it into a right or left field. But now he's turning them into shots in the seats, and that's what makes the Guardians different. They are different than any other iteration at this point because now you have both Naylor and you have Jose doing what they're doing.
And I want to ask this, and I'm not as locked into the Guardians as I am with the Cavs and the Browns, and I've been watching Jose's career as closely as you guys have over the course of his tenure here in Cleveland. But this season, as opposed to the last two that I've been watching on a regular, consistent basis, he's hitting with power on inside pitches, outside pitches, high pitches, low pitches. It seemed like last year and back in 2022, it was more up and in, and more on the inside of the plate where he was able to turn and pull. And this year, whether he's batting lefty or righty, it feels like he's having power. And not even just home runs, but hard hit exit velos, doubles, extra base hits, not just little bloop singles, from both sides of the plate across the entire strike zone. And maybe I'm just seeing that wrong. Have you guys noticed that too? But it seems like his plate coverage has gotten better, and his power with that plate coverage.
I think part
has
of
been tied
it is
together.
he was hurt for a lot of last year. Now, Jose,
right?
and it's the second time he's had a thumb injury that's really affected part of his season. Jose doesn't miss time, right? I think he's only been on the injured list once in his career. I think he's only missed. I think he's played at least like 145 games every year, but one, and not including the COVID year where nobody did.
Yeah.
But the guy doesn't miss time, so even when he's hurt, he plays banged up, and you're not going to play as well. And we don't kill him because he's still good. He's just not as good. But that's the one thing, I guess, if you could call it a flaw. I think flaw is a wrong term, is that he plays all out every moment of every game.
No matter what. And
so sometimes it can bite you because he plays with so much aggression. He attacks the base paths. You talk about his running. He's ultra aggressive. And so sometimes you get beat up playing like that, and it can affect you in the season. But right now he's totally healthy. And so he's feeling good. So there's no pain when you got an injured thumb, whether you're wearing batting gloves or not, it doesn't matter. There's some level of pain when the ball, especially if you don't hit it right in the spot.
And in a switch hitter where your hands are switching.
Right. So you hit it on the top of the bat, you hit it on the handle. It's going to hurt like hell, and it's going to affect you next at bat. And so you can't get as much drive, and you can't get to that outside corner as much. And now he's in great shape. And listen, there is no flaw to his game. He hits for power. He hits for average. He gets on base. He doesn't strike out. He's got speed. He's a good base runner. He's a good fielder. He's got a good arm. He's a leader.
Teammates love him.
He's got plenty of energy. I mean, there is nothing. He doesn't look like a great athlete. You look at Jose Ramirez, he looks chubby. I don't know that he's actually chubby, but he looks like he's a little chubby.
He's a little pudgy.
And he's short, right?
Pudgy, yeah.
And he doesn't look, when you think of great athletes, you think of
Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge, exactly. Look, Aaron Judge looks like a male model.
And the two best players in baseball over the last month, one is 6'7" with like 3% body fat, and one is Jose Ramirez. And guess what? They're both performing at levels that you couldn't even imagine.
Yes, and I think that's part of the reason he's been at times underrated in baseball is because even amongst baseball players who generally don't look as great as football players or basketball players, but even amongst baseball players, he doesn't look like a great athlete because of the way he's built. But he is. I mean, let's face it. He is the best player in Cleveland. He's the best player in Cleveland. End of conversation for me.
Think he's better than Myles Garrett?
I do, yes. Now, I'm sure we could how you compare a defensive lineman and a baseball player, nearly impossible.
It's kind of
but to me, he's the best. He's the best player.
I got a question.
I'd probably take Myles.
I'm sure I'm in the minority on this. I get it. I know everybody's going to say Myles Garrett, but for me, I'll take Jose Ramirez.
Is Jose's plate discipline like superior? Because it seems like to me he gets better and better the deeper he gets into the count. There's been a couple games I've seen this year to where he's hitting home runs when he's 11 and 12 pitches deep into the count.
Yeah, which is, the longer a count goes, the better it is for the hitter because you've now seen everything the pitcher is going to throw.
And the pitcher's more likely just to make a mistake at that point. Miss a
the
spot,
more pitches he throws,
ball.
he's getting tired. A batter keeps fouling it off. It's
frustrating.
It's frustrating for the pitcher, not for the hitter.
No, it's awesome for the hitter.
So the hitter's building more confidence in the at-bat, and Jose is obviously a highly confident guy.
There was a stat, and I'll find it while we're talking here, but he had a home run on the 11th pitch or 10th pitch to Earl's point during the homestand. I think it was the sixth time. I think Mandy Bell tweeted it out. But it was the sixth or seventh time in his career that he's gone 10 pitches in a bat and then hit a home run. And the rest of the Cleveland baseball franchise, like no one had done it more than 2 or 3 times. He had doubled up.
Right.
Everyone else, I'll find the stat before we finish, but something absurd like that.
When you go that deep into the count, what's rare is, like, most guys choke up. They just want to put the ball in play.
Ronnie Davis, we showed the play the other day where he's holding the bat halfway up the damn handle.
Yeah, you just want to put the ball in play at that point. You want to get contact and you want to see if you want to see the at bat out. But some people, I can appreciate it. When I was coming up, they say, "Yo, how you hit so many home runs?" I'd be like, "I swing as hard on the first pitch as the last pitch." Like some people go up there looking to hit home runs no matter what it is.
That's right, and there was no fear because when you have no fear, you play that way, right? He plays with no fear. When he said, "I'm better than Barry Bonds," at first I thought, and I think a lot of people thought, "Oh, he's kind of joking around." But I should have known. It's Jose. He's not joking around.
His mind.
He thinks he's the greatest player ever.
Yeah.
And that's good. You want your players. I think, and I don't want to make this at all a Deshaun Watson conversation right now, but I think one of the biggest problems with Deshaun at some point, and hopefully it's back, is a loss of confidence. If a great player loses confidence, that's it. It's not just about your talent. It's about how you feel up here. Mm-hmm. And Jose thinks he's the best player in baseball, and he backs it up quite often.
And I think that rubs off on other people. Like baseball, more than anything, you can't explain it, but it is a certain thing called being infectious. That's why they do all the camaraderie in the clubhouse stuff, because when Jose comes up and hits a home run, now that signals to the rest of the group, oh, listen, we in this thing. Naylor, I think Naylor is playing well as well because there's a little bit of a competition going.
Well, and I think part of the reason Jose has been so successful this season, not just from a numerical standpoint, he leads the entire major leagues in RBIs. He's right up there in home runs. Part of it is, the guys in front of him have been getting on base. Tyler Freeman, since coming into the leadoff spot for Stephen Kwan's been awesome. Stephen Kwan had the most hits in baseball before he got hurt. And he also has protection behind him in the lineup. Josh Naylor, 15 homers, 40 RBIs this season, big game back. And a guy we mentioned earlier we're going to come back to is David Fry, who somehow has turned into maybe the most likable guy in Cleveland ever in such a short period of time on the season.
Yeah.
David Fry's hitting .375, 7 homers, 23 RBIs, And if he qualified, he does not have enough at-bats to qualify.
Yeah.
He would lead Major League Baseball with a 1.115 OPS.
It's amazing.
Ahead of Aaron Judge, ahead of Shohei Ohtani, ahead of Jose Ramirez. Yeah. He does not have enough at-bats to qualify, but if he did...
He's got to be getting close at this point.
He has 98, you need 100 to qualify. So he's just
He'll
shy.
get it in the next couple of days.
He leads Major League Baseball in OPS, which is absurd to think about because he's David Fry, who I go back to opening day, Bull, when we talked about their opening day lineup, and you were like, why is David Fry in there?
It was more about Elston Hedges.
But I'm just saying, we looked at it and we're like, really, this is...
Yeah.
And he's been their second best hitter all season, third best behind Josh Naylor, but he's been incredible, and guys top to bottom, and having a Naylor and a Fry behind him in the lineup, he's getting better pitches to hit.
By the way,
like it's all a culmination of everything that's working together for the guards.
I am having a magnificent year in my expert fantasy baseball league. Like it's all top-notch players.
You cut David Fry, didn't you?
I'm in second place. It's out of 16 teams, all top-notch fantasy baseball players, and I have a huge lead on the rest of it. It's me and the first place guy, and it's everybody else. And about a month ago, I cut David Fry.
Wow.
I was like,
loser.
Because
sell the team.
I have Salvador Perez.
Sell the team, Bull.
And I have two good catchers. It's only 28 roster spots. I had a guy coming back from the injury list. I'm like, is he going to keep this up?
Probably not.
It was a big mistake. The only mistake I've made all year. I regret it.
With the Guardians, y'all got to keep finding spots for them to play. He played in left field yesterday.
He's got to be in the lineup almost every day.
I mean, I don't know. And you know what? Some of it I tell myself or ask, is it the fact that he is being platooned and he does not have the wear and tear on his body?
Yeah,
that he may be hitting that way.
That was early in the season, you could say that. But lately he's played, most of the time.
4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah. If you look at, by the way, last night's box score, let me just bring it up here real quick. The 3, 4, 5 hitters, which are, Ramirez, Naylor, and Fry.
4 homers.
They combined yesterday to go 7 for 12, 10 runs scored, 10 from 3 guys, 10 RBIs, 3 walks, 0 strikeouts, and 4 home runs.
You better not lose.
3, 4, 5 hitters.
You better not lose a game where you get that kind of production.
And think about how well they're hitting. They got Steven Kwan probably coming back Friday. Kyle Manzardo, by the way, he's been hitting. He had 3 hits yesterday.
7 doubles in his last 8 games.
Can't mess with that. I mean, if this team could get a shortstop, I can live with the right field, whatever you want to do there, because I could play Fry between right field and catcher.
You'll find a way to
and
fit
DH.
Fry
I could play Fry enough, so I'll leave Will Brennan to play a little bit in the outfield. But I'll stick with Freeman in center. He's done enough for now. Left field, obviously, we're great. Jose, we're good at the third. We're good at second, good at first, good at DH. Catcher, I'll live with Naylor for now and Fry in the mix. If they could just get a shortstop, this lineup could be.
That's what I was thinking about.
Just get a shortstop.
I was watching this. I caught the part of the show yesterday.
Yeah.
And the part of the show I saw, the Bichette, I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Is this a real thing? Or is this make-believe?
It should be real.
It's
Toronto's
a real thing.
Toronto's thinking about breaking up the team. He's got 2 years of team control, which is perfect for them. He's not making a huge amount of money. He's making good money, but not crazy amount. If they got, that's the only thing missing. They need a shortstop.
Yep. If they got him,
they need another pitcher too, but they need a shortstop.
And you know what we talk about with Jose, right? We laugh about him giving back millions of dollars.
Yeah.
At some point in time, y'all got to do right by Jose.
That's right.
Like, don't put it on me. Like, don't put it on us. Like, at some point, you have to return the favor because he gave back all of that money. What are you doing in the prime of his career to get him to a place where he can play meaningful games in October and have a chance to win the World Series? You owe that to him.
That's
now,
right.
Naylor is come around. You got him. Kwan, you got one of the best leadoff guys. You get lightning in a bottle with Fry. All you need, you get Bo Bichette at shortstop, and you got him in there still. Listen, we're ready to go. This go from a nice little story to, the Guardians is ready to go.
To answer his question real quick, is it real? Is it just us hypothesizing, G? Bichette will be on the trade, or could be on the trade block.
Unless the Blue Jays make a run.
That's why I say could. I shouldn't say will.
Yeah.
Could absolutely be a trade candidate. The Guardians absolutely make sense in terms of a team that has the assets required to get a player in a position of need. Okay. So there's no like official connection.
It makes a lot of sense.
But on paper, it makes a ton of sense for both sides.
This is not like if he were making $30 million a year, I'd say, well, that's not realistic.
He makes 17.5 next year. G.
Light money. That's light
for a player of his caliber. That's a bargain.
And they're not going to re-sign him, unfortunately. But that's fine. We got him for 2 years. Think about, in theory, if their lineup was Quan 1. I'll say Freeman 2 because I like the way he's hitting near the top of the lineup. So Quan 1, Freeman 2, Jose 3. Naylor 4, Bichette 5, Fry 6, Manzardo 7, and then, whoever you got catching and who am I forgetting? I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
Right.
Oh, Jimenez. Wait a second. I got to put, Jimenez 7, Manzardo 8 or whatever, and then whoever's catching batting 9.
You got
good problems.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
I mean,
that's a great problem.
Y'all talk about me framing titles. I wrote across this. I said, let me jump on MLB.com. Is this a thing? I said, this is because it's so plausible.
Yes,
it just fit. It just looked good. I was like, I like that.
I'm giving them. I'm saying to the Blue Jays, which I have a relationship with them as we talked about yesterday because their president used to be the president and GM here. I'm saying essentially. You can have any shortstop from my system that you want. You could have any pitcher besides Gavin Williams from my system you want. It's in the minors now. I don't care. And I'll give you Chase DeLauder, who's my best hitting prospect. Let's go. 3 good, and I'll throw you in a 4th prospect.
A draft pick that you could make one of our picks in the 3rd or 4th.
No, well, not that. You can't trade draft picks, but.
No, but I'm saying like we'll pick a guy that you want.
No, they don't do that. But another young guy, whatever. It doesn't matter. Get Bo Bichette, and by the way, throw me in Yusei Kikuchi, and let's go. And by the way, if the Guardians win tonight and the Phillies lose, they'll have the best record in baseball.
With that whole deal.
Yeah.
The other side of it is they still need another pitcher. I mean, I still think as much fun as Bichette would be, and he would be my top guy to get, I still do have concerns that the longevity of this staff and the usage of the bullpen and how many innings they're putting on their arms early eventually could catch up to them.
No doubt.
And we saw McKenzie last night. He was okay.
Why are we not counting? Why are we not counting Gavin Williams no more?
Well, we will at some point, but he hasn't pitched yet. So until he's on the mound,
he's making his first rehab start tonight. In Columbus.
Because I know we got to go get an arm, but it's
even
almost like
Williams, it's not enough.
Well, listen. Yeah. I mean, he's a top of the rotation type guy.
Yes. They need one veteran pitcher in the mix. Doesn't have to be a superstar. They don't need to get an ace. They need to get a solid veteran like Kikuchi, like I'm talking about.
But like my question, G. So let's say you get Gavin back and he's good, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You got Gavin. You got Bybee. Who else after that do you trust in like a playoff?
Well, Tristan's been knocked around a little bit the last 2 starts.
Tristan,
he was pitching better prior to that.
Yeah. Overall, I thought. Listen, he didn't pitch great yesterday. Overall, he's been pretty good. The strikeout numbers were really good. I like that.
Yeah.
So
it's just when he misses.
Colorado's a tough pitch to play. I'm not going to kill him for a start in Colorado. No. 5 runs is in 5 innings in Colorado is not the worst.
No.
So ultimately, I'm okay with him, but I don't want to. No, I mean, yes, in a perfect world, I got a playoff series where I got a veteran that I got Bybee, Gavin Williams, and then my 4th starter's either McKenzie or Logan Allen is my 4th starter in the playoffs.
Or Ben Lively to keep
and then I got these other guys to be in the bullpen and do stuff like that. But I think really, before the year, I thought the Guardians needed a lot of things. Right now, one good starter and a shortstop, and we're good.
I'm
Let's
right
go.
there with you.
Earl has a question. Go ahead.
Over the weekend, Joe Noga of Cleveland.com told me that Gavin Williams will be the Guardians' big, trade deadline move.
Unacceptable.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So my question is, at 37-18, for how well as they played, the Guardians are clearly for real. Have they put this front office in a situation to where you really have no choice but to go address positions of need so we can make this deep playoff run?
I hope so.
Oh, they have choices.
I hope so, but it's not.
It's the Guardians.
It's not really about the front office. It's about ownership. Is ownership going to give the front office the ability to increase the payroll? That's the question. I'm hopeful because they have the last few. Listen, I know everybody was. Again, I mentioned this yesterday. Everybody was mad about Savali. Jay particularly was mad. I get what they did last year.
It's the right move.
This year, the team is the best team in the American League right now. Only the Yankees and Baltimore are really right there with the Guardians in terms of the, I know Kansas City's not far behind. In my mind, I'm worried about Baltimore and the Yankees. Those are the 2 teams. The Guardians are in great shape to win this division. We are past the 1/3 point of the season. They are legit. I mean, now we got some time. There's no rush. They don't have to make a trade today. But they should be looking And ownership has got to be willing to open the payroll at least $15 million this year. $15 million.
I asked you this question. Yeah. When is the last time the Guardians made a big move at the deadline? Ubaldo Jimenez, right?
No, well, for a pitcher.
For a pitcher. That's
for a starting pitcher.
For a starting pitcher. That's the only one.
The last, in 2016, they obviously traded for Andrew Miller.
Yes.
And that was a huge move.
So that one.
But they have not traded for a significant pitcher since 2012. Now that trade turned out to, the guys they gave up didn't do anything, but they traded Drew Pomerantz and
Alex White.
Alex White flamed out. Pomerantz had like 2 decent seasons as a reliever.
So there's not a track
But Ubaldo
record
was
there.
not good here. But yeah, they don't. Well, in fairness, part of the reason now they haven't spent money, and I got a big problem with that. In fairness about pitching, they haven't really needed to trade for a starter in recent years.
They've been so good.
This year they do need to trade for a starter, and I would get one more veteran bullpen arm if I could. But to me, one veteran starter and a shortstop. That's what I'm doing. I'm being aggressive. They'll do something. I'm not convinced they're going to do both those things. I think they're more likely to get the pitcher, actually, than the shortstop, because I think they're going to want to try to keep trying with Arias and Rocchio. And I'm not saying those guys will never pan out. It's just like, this team's good. We need a hitter at that position.
There is urgency to maximize on the season you're having. Baseball is such a sport that fluctuates year in, year out. One guy could be David Fry could have the season of his life this year. Yeah. And be an absolute nobody next year.
It happens in baseball.
It does.
It's weird.
More than any other sport. When you have all these guys clicking at once, I think you have to try and maximize the window. And we saw last year, and I know it's a one-year sample size, but Texas and Arizona, the 2 teams that played in the World Series, were not teams that won 120 games in the regular season.
They both barely made the playoffs.
Exactly, and they were teams that got hot at the right time and carried on. The Guardians need the pieces to hopefully be the team that gets hot at the right time and carries it through October.
Last thing before we move on here, the Guardians have one more game against Colorado today. Logan Allen's going to pitch. He's pitched very well of late. It's the final game of that series. They're off tomorrow. Kwan's going to play for Columbus tonight. And then hopefully he's going to get activated. The homestand, they play Washington. Washington's terrible. And then a very fun series. Kansas City has lost 3 in a row, but they're overall playing really well. And next week, the Guardians are actually off Thursday and then again on Monday. So that's good for them to get some pitching breaks there. But they'll play Kansas City Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I think they'll have, I think it's going to be Bybee, Allen, and is it Bybee, Allen, and McKenzie that are going to pitch in that series? I can't remember now, but
I have to see it. With the off day, I'm not sure how it would.
Yeah, we'll see. Up. But I'm excited to see them play Kansas City because they haven't played Kansas City yet.
No.
And Kansas City's been really good. They're a good base running team. Bobby Witt Jr. is another one of the best players in baseball. He's fun to watch. He's awesome. And they've gotten some really good pitching.
Yeah, Seth Lugo.
Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo have been fantastic. 2 veteran pitchers, especially Seth Lugo. So there you go. Earl, what do you got?
All right, man, if you want more Cleveland Guardians coverage, man, always catch the Ultimate Guardians show every Monday with our very own Adam the Bull and Zach Meisel of The Athletic. Don't forget, every Monday, 10 a.m., Bull?
Yeah, we've been bouncing the time around a little bit, but most weeks it's at 10 a.m., yes.
So make sure you tuned in to that to stay in touch with everything that the Cleveland Guardians got going on. Bull has been a long time coming, but Major League Baseball announced yesterday that Negro League stats is officially being integrated into their record books.
Yeah, this is fascinating, guys, because it's never really happened before. But there's no real other example of this.
Right.
In the NFL, you had the AFL and you had the NFL, which were 2 separate leagues, and the stats didn't get added in, and the same thing in the NBA. But those weren't separent leagues because of race. Those were just 2 separate leagues that came up. This is a totally different story. These were guys who, we could go on and on about how disgusting it was, but they were not allowed to play in the major leagues until finally Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. The best players in the Negro Leagues, of course, were good enough to play in the major leagues. Maybe all of them were. I don't know where the dividing line was.
Impossible to really tell.
I have no idea. But certainly the best players were, and that's why Major League Baseball decided to go this route. I love it. I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to be fascinating to see. Now, in the Negro Leagues, they did not play as many games per year. So in terms of like counting stats, home runs, hits, RBIs, guys are not going to bust into the top of the leaderboards. But in terms of what's called the rate stats, batting average, on base percentage, OPS, even though they didn't keep some of those things then, they've been able to there's a lot of baseball historians. And first of all, there's many games, not only in the Negro Leagues, but also in baseball earlier.
Can't find stats
that you don't have this, there wasn't good stat keeping or whatever. And there are researchers out there that go around the country trying to search for box scores and anything they can find. It's fascinating. But I think it's really cool that they're doing this. And Josh Gibson, who never played in the major leagues, but played in the Negro Leagues, was probably the best player. And would have been a great major leaguer. And by the way, they would play like all-star games against each other.
But like
barnstorming tours, usually in the north.
Yeah. And
the Negro League teams accounted for themselves very well in these games. And Josh Gibson was a complete stud, so he'll be on top of the leaderboard at some of these races.
We watched this in school, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, go watch the baseball documentary, right? It's called Baseball. And
the Ken Burns documentary.
Yeah, Ken Burns documentary.
It's the OG one, right?
It's the one where it doesn't matter. I saw it again for the first time, and it had to be 10, 12 years. And it still hits different, right? Because they give you the historical construct. They give you all of the different, the different players, some of the major Negro League players that, played back then. We talk about even guys like Satchel Paige, who didn't get an opportunity to play in his prime.
Right.
But came to the major leagues at the end of his career.
Yeah.
And they talk about some of the stories about how, all the strikeouts and different things and the feats they had. So that's a real good documentary for you to check that out. But I think this is a major move for Major League Baseball. And I think it should have been done earlier. But I think it's a big way of starting inclusion back into, infusing the culture back into baseball. To me, it's a shame that, baseball at one point in time was a household name. When you talk about, go back 100, 150 years, you talk about baseball, you talk about boxing, you talk about, bicycling, right? Those are major sports, Horse racing, right? And I just always, it warms my heart to see how when just the same way they had, their feelings for Babe Ruth, Josh Gibson was the man in his, people wear Gray's uniforms to this day, right? Mm-hmm. Because he was that impactful. Talk about the fact that he was on pace to hit 80-some odd home runs. They only played a few games, way less than a fraction of the Major League Baseball players. But hey, McNuggets, I'll tell you what, it starts the conversation, and it shows why baseball historically, to me, has the richest tradition when you talk about how the baseball was covered at a particular time in this country.
Yeah, I'm happy for all the players who are now included in the Hall of Fame, for all their families. It's a long time coming. I have looked at the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame as a joke for years now. And as cool of a moment as this is, and as good for all the Negro League players who are now getting the recognition they deserve for not just years, decades, G. We're talking almost a century.
Well, the players have gotten in the Hall of Fame before.
No, I know, but for now their official statistics now be counted among the rest.
Yes,
This should have happened 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years ago. It shouldn't have to take till 2024 for this to happen. But I just look at the Baseball Hall of Fame, the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, as a joke. In totality, they don't have the steroid players, the steroid era players. They didn't have statistics from the Negro Leagues up until right now.
That is so wild.
I want to celebrate this because it is worth celebrating the fact that, to everything you just said, G, the inclusion's important. It brings back and ties together the history of the great game of baseball to some of the initial pioneers of the sport. But I'm not celebrating the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
I disagree with that.
I think it's just lost all of its ability to be celebrated with the way it's handled other situations. That while this is certainly a cool moment, and I'm happy for the players and the families, and as G said, for everything kind of coming together, I can't celebrate the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm sorry.
I think putting the steroid guys and the Negro League players in the same class it's not.
I'm not putting
the
steroid
guys cheated. I personally would vote them into the Hall of Fame, but I understand why some people don't. They cheated the game. They did. There's no arguing that. They cheated the game. Now, I think the Hall of Fame is supposed to tell the history of the sport. And so I would put them in the Hall of Fame because they're part of the history. But and even though, yes, I honestly hadn't even really thought about the stats being combined. The Negro League players have been getting in the Hall of Fame for a long time. That's not new.
No, but I just mean the fact that they're trying to come. You see what I'm saying, Jim?
I don't think.
I hope what I'm saying is not coming.
I don't know why you tied the Hall of Fame into.
No. I think sometimes I get what he's saying. Sometimes, man, you got to tell the story.
Yeah.
And it's not up to people to censor the story. The story is the story. When steroids happen, there is a large part of that happened in Major League Baseball that Major League Baseball was complicit with, right?
That's true. Yes.
So I'm a big believer in everyone wants to protect people. Oh, no, don't do this. If you see that, I don't want my kids seeing that.
Yeah.
I don't want. Listen, tell the story of what you are, the whole totality of it, and we can decipher as fans.
But you can't. But that's not the Hall of Fame's fault. It's the voters, and the voters make that decision.
And
they're not banned from being voted on.
You know, for me, that's the tough part about it, because when it comes to people who do vote for this stuff, it's hard for me to like stand by those individuals, because some of them, they get to a position and all of a sudden it's just like politicians. Like they got to ask. I'm not going to vote for that bill. Why? Because I just don't want to. You're like, well, what do you mean? Yeah. I'm not going to vote for this guy because he didn't give me an interview, or I don't think. I just think that taints it a little bit to a point. Now, you do have to have some of those guys, because at the end of the day, there is a historical part of it, right? And there are people who are historians who devote half their life to figuring out what happened in the Negro Leagues and be in the past. But I'm kind of in agreement that, like, listen, put them in there. There's no reason Pete Rose and Barry Bonds and these are your best players.
Well, Pete Rose is not eligible for the Hall of Fame.
That's crazy.
That's a different story. That's a baseball decision. That has nothing to do with the Hall of Fame. He's been banned from baseball.
Yeah.
The writers can't vote on him. The other players.
He's right.
I laugh because like it reminds me of Roman times. We will strike you from the record. Your lineage will die here today, sir.
They took away Reggie Bush's Heisman.
Like that's wild.
Forget who won the Heisman in 2004.
Come on, man. That's why I laugh, because like he's your number one hitter. Like he has the most hits ever. Your home run champion has the most home runs ever. These are the two stats that we know.
G's doing a better job explaining my point than I was.
Yeah, you did a terrible job.
No, it was terrible. It just was not my best. But if you're gonna tell the whole story of baseball, tell the whole story. And it just feels almost like a slap in the face to now. It's now this part of the story deserves to be told.
I just think. I don't think anything's changed in the Hall of Fame with this inclusion of the stats. I just think you're misrepresenting that. The steroid stuff is fine, but I don't think it has anything to do with the Negro Leagues. The Negro Leagues have been honored in the Hall of Fame a lot. So and players have been in, and it's not like Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame are separate entities. Major League Baseball doesn't run the Hall of Fame.
Let me ask you this question, though, Bull.
Yeah.
More than anything,
if
you look at the three sports, when it comes to the numbers, which matters the most?
Baseball. Although not as much since steroids. Yeah, because we don't think I couldn't even remember how many home runs A-Rod hit, because I don't care about the records as much anymore. Like in baseball, like that means something. Like the numbers, kids, it certainly did.
Because here's the thing: how do I know? How do I gauge whether Josh Gibson was better than somebody else?
Yeah.
If I've never seen him play, I got to look at the data. Right. And if the data is not included or made readily available,
right? But that has nothing to do with the Hall of Fame. Is all I'm saying.
No, it's not the. It's again Major League Baseball.
It's the story of baseball,
right? And that had always been acknowledged in the Hall of Fame. It had not been included by Major League Baseball in their statistical reference, which was wrong, and that's been corrected. I don't think we need to knock the Hall of Fame for that.
No. I think sometimes see you are a baseball historian type guy, figures like, so you know the difference. Like for regular laymen's, we feel like Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame is one and the same.
Yeah, I get it.
That's
what you thought. I think that's what most people think. They do a great job at the Baseball Hall of Fame, And I don't think they're to blame for the writers, and I don't think they're to blame for Major League Baseball not adding these. Well, they have. If you go, I've been to the Hall of Fame a number of times. I used to go every year when I lived in that area, and there were always like tributes to the Negro Leagues, tributes to women's baseball. They cared about all that stuff.
And I guess technically they are separate entities, and I'm kind of piling them into one. But when you think about the record books, where are the record books?
And that, yes.
And in theory, even if they're not physically in the Hall of Fame, like I kind of tie the two together. And you're right, maybe that is bad job on me.
It is bad that baseball took this long to do it.
Yeah.
It is. And it's about time that it happened. It makes a lot of sense. I'm glad they've made the change.
Hey, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I want everyone to know, like, I'm very happy this is happening. Like, it is good for all the players, their families, all the grandkids and the great-grandkids. Like, this has nothing to do with my bigger picture is this should have happened a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And although the Hall of Fame and Major League Baseball may not be exactly tied like peanut butter and jelly, they're still in the same grouping in my mind, and that's why I think
it's pivotal that they highlight it, and I think it's something that's important because, you know, as a black person, you want to see your pioneers, right? You want to see guys and people who came before you that were successful at what you want to do. And I think there's a lot of it that comes into play as if you want more African American people and you want more black people to play, it's important to know your history, because if you know your history, it makes it possible now. Like, okay. Like, I didn't know that, like, you know, that Satchel Paige did this. I didn't know that even people like Larry Doby, right? Think about it. We have all of the different things with Jackie Robinson, but Larry Doby is just as influential, but does not get the credit because he came second, right? In a differment league.
Very soon after Jackie Robinson, I'm sure he had to put up with all the
same stuff.
Jackie Robinson did. I'm sure it wasn't like they took it easy on him.
Listen, he's the second one. We already got our money off with Jackie. Larry, he's good. Like he still.
By the way, Cleveland first black manager in baseball, Frank Robinson,
crazy,
was in Cleveland. The Negro League Museum, by the way, is in Kansas City. I've never been to Kansas City, so I've never been to the museum. I'd like to go someday.
I've heard
it's amazing. Yeah. And you know, a lot of people think, well, it's awful that there had to be a Negro League, had to be the Negro Leagues, which it is awful that they had to. But there actually are some positives that they had that league. First, it gave black men and a couple of women, I believe there was 2 women, ownership. They owned the teams. And so it was a chance for people in the black community at that time to make some money and have ownership of teams. So that was a positive there. And it created some opportunities for writers and you know, that they would not have had the same opportunity in Major League. It sucks that was all the case, but there were positives that kind of came out of them having that league. In a good world and what the world should have been, those same opportunities should have happened in Major League Baseball, not only for the players but also for writers and owners and stuff. But at least, obviously it's a shameful time in our history, and I think, and I've said for years that Major League Baseball needs to do a better job in the black community of encouraging more kids to play baseball and making it so much easier to play, you know, football pickup or basketball pickup, because you just need the ball. Yeah. You know, you don't need equipment with baseball. You need a bat, you need a glove. And these things are expensive.
1-on-1, 2-on-2. It's really tough to play 1-on-1 baseball or 2-on-2 baseball.
And the number of black players in baseball has been on the decline for years.
I was just talking to my dad about this, right? And he was saying how it's not just the inclusion factor of getting more black people to play or getting more people in the inner city interested in baseball. Baseball has gone underground. And what I mean by gone underground is, if you were a kid that was 8 years old right now and you were interested in playing baseball and you grew up in the inner city, who could you reach out to find out where you play? What team could you be on? Is there an inner city league? Is there like now it's you play super elite baseball. You go, you train your kid, you take him to a trainer. You get him in there. You try to get the can he throw left-handed? Hey, he's a pitcher. Can he hit? Let's get him in these batting cages. Then as you get through the batting cages, you see the coaches. The coaches say, hey, it's a fall travel league that's coming up. and it's about $2,500. You get your kid involved. You're like, okay, let's do. If you want to play baseball today and you like 9, where are you? It's unwritten.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have people search it out. I mean, I know in my town we have Little League.
Right.
Kids that don't want to spend families don't want to spend crazy money. I mean, for Little League, I think I want to say $150, which is not crazy. I mean,
no.
It's 16 games plus playoffs plus uniform plus
it's pretty reasonable
practices, and I mean that's not crazy. And I am part of a group of guys putting together we're calling it fall baseball, but it's really late summer baseball league in Rocky River. But we've made, unlike Little League, which it's only kids from Rocky River, which I'm trying to change. But in our league, which I'm one of board members of, for the fall league, we're doing it through the rec center in our town, but it's open to all kids from any town. The kid, if you don't live in Rocky River, I think you got to pay $10 extra, but it's reasonable. I think it's only like $110 or $120, and it's really cool because every team has a major league team and a minor league team, and the kids are going to learn together.
That's how we did it.
Yeah, so I have. So I'm going to be coaching both teams in this, and I have 22 kids on my team, and I already know 19 of them because they're either kids I've coached before or they're friends with my son. So it's really great, and I already know all of these kids. But yeah, I mean, I don't know in the city of Cleveland what it's like.
The Guardians have their inner city team, but I don't even have the slightest clue on how you get involved in that. I know it's a couple different stages. Like there's a younger group and an older group, but I couldn't even begin to tell you how that process starts.
It's funny. I guess it was after the George Floyd incident. Actually, you and I spoke on the phone.
That was wild. That was crazy. That was crazy. I remember that conversation like it was yesterday.
Yeah, that was good. And soon after that, I was like, what can I do? Like, what can I do as an individual? And I was like, well, what do I know the best? Like, and I'm like, okay, radio. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What am I going to do with that? And I thought about baseball, and I was like, maybe I can start an inner city league or something. And I didn't even know where to turn to, start the process.
Right.
I actually called the Cleveland chapter of the NAACP. I don't know why I decided to do that.
Just the thought of that.
He went all the way up top.
Yeah, I was like,
straight to the president.
I said, let me call the Cleveland chapter of the NAACP and get the ball rolling. And
he was like, hey, Al Sharpton, this is Adam the Bull. He was
at least your heart was in the right place.
Yeah.
That's what counts, though. That's what really matters.
It didn't happen because I didn't connect with the right people, and I didn't know. And I don't even know, so I don't know. I don't know what. Do you know anything about baseball in Cleveland? Earl?
I can tell you this. Growing up as a kid, I played Little League Baseball. My brother did. And it's not something that you see black kids playing like you did mid-'90s, early 2000s. It seems like that a game that we all kind of grew up loving, we kind of got separated from. And it seems weird because I grew up as a diehard baseball fan. I played baseball, and this is the closest relationship I have with the sport that I've had in a long time.
Right.
My dad, when I was growing up, I played baseball since I was 6 years old.
Yeah, your dad loves baseball,
and he watches every single Guardians game, all of them. Like he's one of them dudes that be at the game but had the radio on too.
Oh, that's old school right there.
He would have me keeping the books.
Yeah.
And so basically, I grew up, and basically when I got to be about 12, you go onto the traveling squads and you go play. And I played for a really good traveling team. And then when I was 14, he was just like, you playing for my team. And I'm like, what? I'm playing for your squad. Well, you ain't got a team. So we used to say, we started a team. He went to the Urban League.
Right.
He went to the Urban League and was like, yo, I want to grant to start a team. And so all of the fees was paid for. They got us they got us bats and everything. And we would laugh because our uniforms didn't have names on them. They just had numbers. And we was like, yeah, these is the old school Negro League jerseys, right? Like but he got everybody that wanted to play, everybody that was out of the projects. And he would pick every single person up. And he was like, look, man, you got, you had a father, you can. I need you to help you show you how this is done. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I used to keep score and, you know what I'm saying? He would be on me all tough because he couldn't be on those other guys tough. But the guys that ended up playing, we ended up having 4 guys play baseball, 5 guys play baseball in high school all the way through. And then we had 3 guys who ended up playing baseball in college, which was like one of the biggest accomplishments ever because you went from not even having not one black guy on the baseball team in high school to 3 that went to college. So that was dope.
By the way, if there's anybody out there watching who knows where I can turn to help, did somebody reach out?
No, I was going to say this. Shout out to Only One Zay. The chat is going crazy like always, but he gave you a compliment, boy. He said the best side of Bull always comes out when it comes to kids and baseball. So shout out to you.
Fact.
But they heard you. I'm pretty sure if they got some information,
if there's somebody that can tell me where to turn, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm very involved with baseball in my town, but I'd love to help other kids that don't have the infrastructure. In Rocky River, we got a lot of people. I could help in other places, and I love being involved with youth baseball. And if there's something I could do to contribute to a program in the city of Cleveland, reach out to me somehow. Email me or send me a direct message on Twitter or reach out to Mike or Earl, and they'll get in touch with me, and I would like to do what I can. Get the ball rolling there. So anyway. All right, we'll leave it there for now. Earl, we're going to switch it up and talk some football.
Yes, but before we do that, we got to tell you about another one of our spinoff shows, the Ultimate Brown Show, coming at you every Monday and Friday, except for it came at you yesterday. G came at you with another fire episode. Make sure you check that out if you haven't. And as always, man, like, subscribe, ring the bell so you can be in the know for the flagship show and all of the spinoff shows. So we love having fun with PFF.
Change the show, Earl. 1 second, sorry. I think we might need to change the show to the Ultimate Headline Show.
Listen,
the Ultimate Truth Show.
The Ultimate Truth Show.
Hey, listen, we got we dropping clips today, man. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You still gonna get some G Bush clips in there. You get some shorts. You get all kind of cool stuff. You'll know when they come out, and I got headlines on those too.
There you go. All right, Earl. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, you all good. So y'all know we love a good PFF list, right?
Yes, we do.
PFF ranked the top 3 players on each NFL team. We got to get the graphic up. Steve, my bad. I should have told you beforehand. But what I thought was hilarious, Mike thought was hilarious, the best 3 players that they ranked on the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Told you.
And Zadarius Smith.
Did they get this right or did they blow Smith is on that list. The other 2, of course, but
so
he's not one of the 3 best players on the Browns. That's crazy.
I did a little digging because I was like, there's no Zadarius Smith.
Wild.
We did our pyramid of the top 15.
Yeah.
No one made a case for Zadarius Smith in the top 15.
Yeah.
He was on the tier after 15.
Yeah.
So how did PFF have him in the top 3? So I went and I did some digging to try and figure out how did PFF come up with this, because they did it for all 32 teams. And because it's PFF, you want to take a guess how they did it?
They went by.
They just went to grades.
Yes, they just went simply the highest PFF grade.
Yeah.
Zadarius Smith's 2023 season is like the ultimate Rorschach test for how you look at football.
Right.
It could be as good as you want it to be,
right,
or it could be as bad as you want it to be. You look at the traditional numbers, he had the 5.5 sacks bowl.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing. You look at the analytics, his pass rush win rate, his rate at beating double teams, his quarterback hurries and hits, all high. But it's the analytics versus what you saw with your eye. Is it real? Is it fake generated pressure? Yeah. And he ended up as a top 10 rated PFF pass rusher last year. And I know that doesn't match my eye test.
I probably respect PFF more than anybody on the show, maybe.
Probably.
I love it, but I don't think it's infallible. And certainly our eyes are not infallible. No, nobody thinks that Zadarius Smith is a scrub. I mean, he's a nice player, but did he stand out to you last year? I thought he was okay. He was fine.
Listen, this is so funny. I'm gonna pull this up really quickly because
how is he better than Amari Cooper last year? I don't understand.
Here's the list while he's looking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think JOK. You can make an argument if he's not. I think he is top 3 personally. I know. Last year was 1 year. I fully expect that to happen again.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that JOK is a top 3 player. Myles Garrett's a no-brainer. Other people I had on the list that I think you can make a legitimate, bona fide, almost argumentative against proof case that they should be higher than Zadarius. Cooper, Ward, Chubb, Bitonio, and Teller.
Well, not Chubb. I mean, he was hurt.
But I'm just saying, you can make the case.
Yeah.
You can argue that because of the injuries.
I can't argue Chubb.
You wouldn't put Chubb? Okay, fine. Then even without that, Cooper, Ward, Bitonio, Teller, and I'd have Njoku closer to the top 3 than I would Zadarius.
You know what? Listen, I don't know if you can see this, but see, this is so hilarious. And we talk about we have this already lined up right here. This is coming out here on I believe this is when is this coming out? In 18 hours. It says, do the Browns need more from Zadarius Smith in 2024? As you can see,
the alliteration with the rhymes.
Yeah, did you see? I was already on it. I was ready. I was talking to him. I said, "Listen, Zadarius, you I know you cut your hair, big dog. I know you want a new lease on life. I know you had your 5.5 sacks, but when you came, we was expecting 10. But there is like, you got to think about this. PFF do stuff like, well, his pass rush win rate was 86.5%. Actually, to be truthful, his block shedding on double teams was 9% higher than the average mean for any defensive end that was under the age of 31. They be having crazy stats.
Yeah.
It on paper, it looked like he was killing the game. But, like, is that really killing it? Like, I'm looking for production. We had you for, we need that Green Bay Packer 12 sacks. We need that Minnesota Vikings 10 sacks. Where's that at? And I don't know if he's able to give that to you at, what, he's 31 now?
Yeah, he's going to be 32 soon.
32 soon?
And he's playing
the headline
opposite.
was the 3 best players.
Yes.
Like, I think, first of all, you shouldn't even judge it just based on last year alone. I mean, when I say to you, without qualifying it, when I say to you the 3 best players on the Browns are, what's your answer? Go ahead.
Miles is one.
Yeah.
I'd probably go Amari Cooper, and I think JOK's up there. I am, and I know me and G have talked about this, just like Earl is on the MJ Emerson, like, maybe I think he's a little better than he really is. I think what we saw from 2023 from JOK is kind of the basis of what he's going to be for the next 4 or 5 years. I think he's on a straight upward trajectory to be a consistent all-pro.
But Amari Cooper's not going to be great for 4 or 5 years.
No, but I'm saying that's why I'm confident putting JOK there, because I think he was so good last season.
Yeah.
That's
my baseline for me.
Yes.
Amari Cooper 2-3.
I think JOK can win the Defensive Player of the Year.
That's tough for a non-sack. I mean, it's always a sack guy.
This cat.
I have never heard Earl. I never heard that noise.
You just got scoffed at by Earl.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you what.
I heard that through the glass.
Yeah,
that wasn't in my ear. That was through the glass.
I did too, man. I thought I called somebody outside their name. Listen, I'll tell you why. JOK had a quiet 20 tackles for loss, right? If you throw in the fact that Jim Schwartz's defense, right, that he brings him on blitzes more and he has him spying more, he can theoretically get up to about 7-8 sacks. You think that he gets 7-8 sacks? He gets a couple more, 1 or 2 more tackles for loss a game. That puts him at 30 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
And he's up around 120, 125 tackles, and maybe get you 2 interceptions because he playing on nickel. Them numbers is ridiculous. Them numbers is dumb. That's 30 tackles for loss.
So you've got JOK in your top 3 also.
Yes, of course.
Along with Miles, who's your third guy?
Amari Cooper has to be in there.
Yeah.
And if Nick Chubb was not injured, he has to be in there.
Right. Yeah. I'm leaving Nick Chubb out because he's coming off an injury. So to me, you guys are missing
Denzel Ward.
You're missing the number 2 guy, and that's Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward's the second best player on the Browns. Nobody can convince me otherwise. It's my opinion, just like you have your opinion, but nobody can convince me otherwise. He has been taken for Browns fans who traditionally overhype their players have taken for granted Denzel Ward for years. And how good he is. I can't believe it.
Kind of.
He is underrated.
Because think about it,
which is impossible for a Browns player.
You was here covering it.
Yeah.
People in this city thought Joe Hayden was Revis Island.
Right.
Like they thought Shohei.
And Joe was awesome.
And he was great, but he's nowhere. I don't think they're in the same playing field.
No, and I think Denzel doesn't put up huge interception numbers.
But he doesn't get tested a lot, so it's tough.
But all I need to know about Denzel and why I will always have, I mean not always, but why he remains number 2 is because he has played better against the Burrow-Chase combo than anybody else in the league, and it's not close. It's not close. Burrow and Chase together kill almost everybody, with rare exceptions. And Ward has had the number of that combo. And in my opinion, that's the best, in my opinion, it's the best quarterback wide receiver combo in football. And because the Chiefs don't have a receiver.
I'm changing my mind.
Yeah.
Ward replaces
I talked you into Ward. Look at that.
Because I was thinking Ward is a top 7-ish cornerback.
Yeah.
You want to say top 5, sure.
The only thing you could hold against him is that he misses games. He misses a few games.
And because Cooper, with his age and the fact that he missed games too, I was thinking that I'm still keeping JOK in there.
Yeah.
And I'm putting Ward in for Cooper.
Right. And think about it. Ward, in 2022, Ward had a bit of a down year. I'll give you that. But every other year of his career, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And in a league, and Tyvis will tell you this, where cornerbacks seem to go up and down all the time, outside of 1 year, he's been consistently excellent.
Since I'm on a roll with these takes, you may not feel it, but I'm projecting David Njoku as a top 3 tight end. I think David.
Top 3?
Yeah.
I can't go with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'm not putting him over Kelsey.
Okay.
I'm not putting him. Now, Hawkinson's hurt, so you get a spot there.
Okay.
Laporta.
But I'm not putting him over
You could have Laporta. Okay.
I mean, the guy had 1,000 yards as a rookie.
I'll give
and he's
you
playing on a good big-time offense.
I'm waiting.
And I'm not putting him over George Kittle either.
Now,
there's a couple of guys,
George Kittle might be better, but I'm telling you, I think Njoku is pushing 1,000 yards this year.
Are you worried, though, G, that now because a lot of his big games came late in the season when it was just
Flacco?
Not Flacco, but it was...
But it was Flacco.
Well, they had a lot of chemistry.
But there was no Chubb. Amari was out for a couple of those games.
Yeah.
Like, he was the guy, now they bring back Judy, they bring back Amari, Elijah's in the mix. I'm just worried that from a number standpoint, even if David takes a step up in terms of his overall player and how good of a tight end he is, it's just be fewer and fewer targets to go around.
That's another thing, too. I think they'll spray the targets around. One thing I like what David Njoku said, he said he's been playing between 250 and about 270 his career. He wants to lose a little weight. He feels like
and he's strong enough to still be able to block at the same level
but he wants to get, he wants to be able to get to the end zone and be more of a playmaker downfield. So I like the fact that he understands what's going on. Man, you know what this exercise really does? It just really shows you just how many pieces the Browns actually have.
We haven't even mentioned Deshaun Watson yet.
At all.
And
Or MJ Emerson.
Who's your third? So you got Miles, you got Ward, and who's number 3?
Oh, so I'm going back and forth between Amari Cooper and oh my God,
Bitonio?
And Joel Bitonio. Couldn't think of his name for a second.
Yeah.
I'm going back and forth. I'll go with Amari Cooper. Amari was better than Bitonio last year, so Amari Cooper would be 3 for me. I think if we go a little further, you add in Bitonio, you add in Teller, you add in. I'm with you on JOK. He's in that next group, but
listen, that's a nice year, man. Yards per catch for Amari, for a guy who they say ain't fast. 17.4 yards per catch. Like, and think about this. He had PJ Walker, DTR. Like, he had a bunch of. He didn't even have no consistent guy at quarterback. Like,
now those rankings were his career rankings, not
his career.
But 17.4.
That's very good.
That's crazy for him.
Yeah. He had a great season. I'm a little worried about his ability to stay healthy for a full season at his age.
I am too. Yeah.
I'm a little nervous about that, but he played as well as he's ever played last year. Until he got till the end of the season.
Is it out of pocket to say that, like, if the first few games come out and they say, well, look, Amari Cooper, you're good, but they start giving Jerry Jeudy more of the number 1 feel.
It could happen.
And Jerry Jeudy's got to prove he's worthy of it.
Yes.
Hopefully that will happen.
We're not going to give it to him, but, like,
Yeah, I mean, that transition, I think it's more likely to happen organically if it does than like, hey, we're going to purposely do this.
Right.
But
Deshaun's really, for the majority of his career, outside of those 2 years with DeAndre Hopkins, and even one of those years with DeAndre Hopkins, he's been a pretty equal opportunity guy.
Well, that's if you're saying 2 years. I mean, he hasn't played that many years.
But I'm just like, when you had a guy DeAndre who, in DeAndre's peak, he's a significantly better receiver than Amari. Like DeAndre was top 2 or 3.
I think you can't.
But he's done a pretty good job.
But here he's played so few games. It's really hard to tell.
I mean, he's played 11 real games here. So, it's impossible to tell. But I'm just saying, his career, it's not like he's always been a guy, I'm locking in on you.
But, Mike, he's only played a full season 3 times. Okay. So how many years is that? We don't have much track record.
Okay.
But he played more than 11 games.
I'm going to ask this.
He played 4 years in Houston. That was it.
He played 60-something career games. So he's played 50.
That's 4 years.
Yeah, so he got 50-year track record.
I know that, but, like, we don't know that, he's spreading it around more. He might just not have had, in the other years, a good guy to throw it to.
Peak Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Where will he be ranked on this team in terms of the top 3? Peak Deshaun.
1 or 2.
You mean like the guy that played in Houston?
Yeah, the peak Deshaun Watson on this team would be what?
2. For me, he'd be 1 because
quarterback's always just more important than tight end. Defensive end.
When he played his last season in Houston, and this is how I can. So when I am consistently saying I don't want to hear this nonsense about his 4-1 record last year. I don't care about it, and I can say that because when he had that terrible record, I don't know why I'm saying record. He did have a terrible record.
No, I think it's the whole rest of the time.
His last season in Houston, his record was, I keep doing it.
His
record was terrible. They were 4-12.
Right.
4-12, yeah.
I thought at the end of that season, I said he's the second best quarterback in football behind Patrick Mahomes at the end of that season. And they won 4 games that year. So I have every right to say I don't give a rat's ass about his 4-1 record. He didn't play well for the most part. That's how I see it. I thought he was the second best quarterback in football. So you ask me what that guy is on this team, even though Myles Garrett is as great as Myles Garrett is, even if they're equal, I put Deshaun Watson 1
quarterback.
Because it's harder to be a great quarterback than a great pass rusher.
Dang, that's
he's 1 or 2. I don't think it's even close.
We don't, and the thing is, listen,
crazy. It's crazy.
He doesn't have to be that good, but he's got to be close. They traded for him to be that guy, or at least close. You can't be middling. He's got to be a Pro Bowl level quarterback.
So let's go
legit, and not of the 6th alternate Pro Bowl. He's got to be a legit Pro Bowl quarterback this year.
Let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit.
Yeah, go down. I love a good rabbit hole.
Let's get to this.
What G wanted to say is pause. Go ahead.
Have you seen anybody? What would be the reason for his fall off? Have you seen anybody go from that type player to like, okay, he's never getting that back without anything happening? What happened?
I mean, he's had some injuries.
But
no, there have been guys who, like Carson Wentz, was having a great season that
MVP
1 year when he got hurt and they won the Super Bowl without him.
Okay.
He's never been anywhere near that.
He was having a great year. He was not Deshaun Watson level good, but he was at the time I was starting to think he's become one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL.
But Watson had a couple.
But it's not comparable. I don't think. I think that's in the same stadium, but not in the same lineup.
It's not in the field. It's in the stands.
I'm trying to think of a guy. I can't think of anybody.
I've never. That's why a lot of people hold on to it like, nah, this can't be. Nah, he's not gonna fall off because we've never seen it.
And I agree that it is completely unprecedented in terms of like a guy being at the highest of physical highs you could be to where he's been the last couple of years. The one difference is it wasn't just injury, but he went through the whole legal.
He missed
issue.
almost. Yes,
he missed almost 3 years, and it's the mental. And you said it before.
That's the biggest part of it.
It's not physical. I have zero doubt, and tag on to this in a second. My concerns with Deshaun aren't physical. Is he still mentally as locked in, and is he still processing information at the speed you need to process to be an elite quarterback when you've missed, for a variety of different reasons, essentially 3 years of football?
But not only that. Not only has he barely played for 3 years. Barely, right? I mean, he's played 11 games in 3 years, which is nothing.
That's crazy.
But we don't know, and this is something that I and I think others ignored when the Browns traded for him. And it doesn't matter what you think about what happened. It's for this argument, it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant, yeah.
There are probably mental scars for him from what he's had to deal with. Whether you believe, whatever you believe, again, it's irrelevant. He's got probably, because most people would, I'm assuming, there are mental scars, hurdles, whatever you think, that he's got to get over that I didn't even think about. I'm like, this guy's a great professional athlete. It's not going to matter. But what we think about more these days, and I've thought about personally more these days, is ultimately we're all human beings. And Deshaun Watson may be a great athlete, maybe a great football player, doesn't mean he can't have same mental health issues that the rest of us have. And there may be mental hurdles that either have taken him time to get over or that he possibly will never get over. I don't know. Only he and maybe his therapist would know. And that's something that none of us can quantify. And maybe it's a non-factor. Maybe I'm just I'm speculating. How could I possibly know? But I find it hard to believe that he's been through what he's been through, both off the field, the suspensions, and the injuries, and the hate that he gets from fans, and to think none of that affects him mentally negatively in any way is nearly impossible to believe. How he handles it going forward is going to be a big thing in how good he can be because, gee, as you know, you played at a high level of college football, so you know this. You know the differences between the great college football player, the journeyman NFL player, the good NFL player, and the great NFL player. These are not huge differences. These little things that make a difference. And that mental edge could be the difference for him being just a guy in the NFL and being a superstar again. And nobody can know that except for him.
Earl, you had something to say?
No, it's funny, G, before you go, and Boo, I think you put it right, mental scars and the things that he goes through mentally. We've had the opportunity, me and G, to meet his mom, his brother, and his sister. And I could tell you this, Deshaun Watson absolutely 1,000% loves his family. And I could tell he really loves his mother. And for a mother, I can only assume the backlash she got.
Yeah.
Right? The stones and scolding that she got and how that mentally impacted him or his younger siblings who's not in the spotlight at all.
Right.
But's getting some unnecessary backlash because of the criticism you have towards him. So mental scars is right. That stuff takes a lot to get over. And if you remember, we had Sean Porter Jr. on our show, and he talked about that part of it.
Yeah.
Who knows? And, we don't know what the timetable is. Maybe the first year he couldn't handle it. Maybe last year he handled it better, but it still affected him. Maybe this year it will still. Maybe it won't this year. Maybe it's, maybe even last year it was a minor. I don't know. None of us can answer that question but him.
I tell you what, I wonder, because the closest thing I can come to it is Michael Vick. Now, Michael Vick.
That's the closest thing.
Michael Vick was, in the black community, Michael Vick was Peyton Manning. You got to understand it. Mike Vick had his own shoe, which is impossible for a football player. You wear cleats. How you got your own? But he played on turf. So the fact that he had the richest contract in NFL history, right? Then he does something like dogfighting. And listen, I know what he was accused of, or Deshaun Watson, but I'm going to tell you what. You want to see people be up in arms? Do something to pets, especially dogs. Dog fighting, people everywhere were like, yo, they view their pets as their family members. So when he got hit for that, he went to federal jail, he went to the penitentiary, right, for those years. And even though he went there, he still came out. And even he was, after that year, he came out. And he eventually beat out Kevin Cobb, and he played for Andy Reid. And it was like he was almost better than he was when he went in.
That first year,
he had an MVP type season, and even he came back. So I want to know, did he reach out or maybe spoke to Mike Vick about that? Because Mike Vick, he not only changed his life around, he got another $100 million contract, financially take care of his family, but he also rehabilitated himself to the point that they saw him as an asset to other people going to other teams.
Can I ask a really, really potentially dumb question, but related to that? When Mike Vick in the situation happened, and he goes to jail, right? Mm-hmm. He's, in a way, not completely isolated, but he's not hearing a lot of the stuff that's happening on a day-to-day basis about him because he's locked up.
Yeah.
And Deshaun was never charged. He was never actually like his only punishment was from the NFL. He was still able to hear whether you try to turn it off or not. I think it's impossible in today's day and age to actually completely isolate yourself from the outside noise. I just wonder how much Mike Vick actually heard versus how much Deshaun actually heard, and there's no way to know.
I mean, I don't know.
I said it might be a dumb question. I'm just asking because
he wasn't in solitary confinement.
But the one thing that
he doesn't have his phone to be scrolling through Twitter all day.
And social media wasn't as big.
It wasn't as big.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: when you have sometimes when you are in confinement and then you're in jail, you have time to reflect on your life. All that other stuff, all the people around you fall off. You start to realize what's actually important. You're like, wow, I don't miss my friends. I miss my wife and kids. One of the biggest things, one of the huge impacts that he talked about was, he said, at the end of the day, I'm a dog lover. One of the things that hurt me the most is I'm never able to have a dog again. And he kind of, sat in jail and said, man, I had everything. And when he came out, he was at a different mental space. He was humble. He just wanted to work. But sometimes it's difficult. The difference between Vic and Deshaun Watson is, it's a good point. Deshaun Watson had to live in the storm, right?
Yeah.
When you live in the storm and you weren't convicted, but everybody wants you to be, or some people think you should.
It is more different than.
You have to take the brunt of that.
And another part of this, and this is obviously complicated, and is that Michael Vick, when he got out of jail, immediately was apologetic.
Yeah, he was,
and he, has done things to and I think that obviously there's a percentage of the population that will always hate Michael Vick.
Yes.
But I feel like a lot of people, I don't and I love dogs and I have a dog, but I feel like, I'm good with Michael Vick now. I feel like he
committed
did
the
whole
crime,
apology tour.
and he paid the quote-unquote time. And
Deshaun has. Right.
They don't feel like he ever actually paid for what he was accused
Deshaun
of
has never
doing.
apologized. Now, again, it's complicated.
He was never charged, though, so
because you could say, well, he doesn't think he says he didn't do anything. That's a whole complicated thing. Again, it doesn't matter what you believe. The fact is he has never apologized for what he's accused of. You could say he shouldn't. That's fine, but he hasn't. Either way, Michael Vick did, and that's a different. And so there's more people that are going to forgive, whether you care about that or not, Michael Vick, that are not going to forgive Deshaun Watson.
The thing I could take away from it is the redemption of it.
Yeah.
Every person has the ability to have redeemable qualities and to change your life around. It don't matter what you did yesterday, right? If you ask for forgiveness of that and move and make steps to going in the future to being repentant of what you did and continue to move on and become a better person, that's all you can ask for as any human being, right? To try to make sure that you make amends and then move forward and say, listen, I take responsibility and I'm moving this way. I think that the crazy part about it is I start to see that in Deshaun Watson in his he's more bold. He had somebody asked him, about his performance and what do you expect moving forward. He said, listen, I'm harder on myself than you are. Mm-hmm. I expect to be good. It ain't no half-stepping. I expect to put up numbers. I expect our team to be good. And it was actually the first time I had heard him actually give some pushback. Before it was kind of like, well, I'm just going. I want my team to be good, and I'm going to see. Yeah. It's something to be said for you saying, coming out and being like, nah, it's on me. If we don't go to the playoffs, if we don't win, it's on me.
I started thinking about redemption. I started thinking about some politicians. I was going to bring it up, and then I'm like, man.
Nope.
Look at you.
Oh, it's a perfect time for
forgive.
Look.
I don't know.
Look, you know what?
Perfect time for
Go ahead, Earl.
Hey, real quick before we move on, I found this article on CNN. It's dated October 13th, 2012. Michael Vick and his family actually did purchase another dog. And in the article, he says this is an opportunity to break the cycle. To that end, I will continue to honor my commitment to animal welfare and be an instrument of positive change. So,
right, and because he did a bunch of things like that, people don't feel the same way. Obviously, it's been a lot longer ago.
Yeah, I think he's different. To me, he's a different person. You hear Michael Vick talk, he really speaks to a lot of people because he was about that.
All right, Earl, what do we got next?
All righty, man. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers are getting $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and we actually have a winning ticket today.
Nice.
Today's winning ticket comes from Big Dog for Life 99, who turned $2 into, $56.54.
Nice. Oh, the baseball.
Straight baseball.
You had Jose Ramirez to get an RBI, Josh Naylor to get an RBI, David Fry 2+ total bases, and Kyle Manzardo 2+ total bases.
This was from Friday, by the way.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It also would have worked last night.
It would have worked last night, too.
All right, so.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, Earl, after you take that down, I put up a parlay for the fans yesterday, and 2 of the 4 legs hit. The other 2 got rained out, so I got to figure out what happens now.
You get adjusted for the only 2 instead of 4.
Because the Tigers game got rained out. Go ahead, Earl.
All right, so a reporter, Christian Clark of NOLA.com, reported over the weekend that the Cavs and Pelicans would re-engage in trade talks surrounding Darius Garland and Brandon Ingram. How interested are you in adding Brandon Ingram in any trade scenario to this roster, and do you believe that if he's a fit or not?
Did you say that reporter's name is Kristen Clark?
Yeah, Christian Clark.
By the way, she dropped 30 yesterday.
That's Caitlin Clark.
Okay. Oh. Caitlin Clark dropped 30 yesterday.
Yeah,
for Indiana.
They
won their second straight.
I was like, is that Caitlin's sister?
Yeah.
I was like, Kristen Clark.
No, they didn't lose. I think they won, didn't they?
No, they lost. They lost.
Sparks.
Yeah.
Sworn they won.
You got her name wrong. You got the final score.
Steve said bad job
30, right?
She did score 30. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
you won for 333.
Not bad. Yeah.
Steve said he even knew that. Bad job out of you.
Wow. If Steve knows something about sports, that's when I've dropped the ball for the day. That is, Steve. You're right. 100% right. You know, I am growing more interested in Brandon Ingram. Right? Now I feel like I'm saying his name right.
No, Brandon Ingram, that's correct.
McNuggets hates him.
You know why?
I don't hate him.
He hates it.
I don't hate him.
He hates
you. Because even, I get he's injury prone, and ultimately that may sabotage him. But isn't he the best player they could realistically get?
Yeah.
See, I don't agree with that necessarily. And I'm not quite sure who is a tangible, more realistic target. My issue with Brandon Ingram, the numbers are perfect. And I'm going to preface this all with this. Brandon Ingram is a major upgrade over anyone they have on the wings right now in terms of a playmaking, shot-creating 3/4, 6'8". The issue is you're getting a 27-year-old who's entering the last year of his deal and is up for a massive contract extension.
Right.
And he's going to get somewhere in the range, according to Spotrac, of 5 years, $240 million.
Right.
And I just don't think he's worth anywhere near $240 million. So if you're going to make a trade for a guy who's currently making $36 million, so you have to match salaries to a certain extent, I don't know if Brandon Ingram.
Everybody gets overpaid in the
but
NBA.
I just
Who
don't
cares?
think. But if you eventually have a guy in Brandon Ingram who is paid that high, it just handcuffs the entire rest of your roster. When you're already going to have Donovan potentially on a max contract and Evan Mobley on a max contract.
Okay, but if you have those 3 guys, well, what else are you doing anyway? You're not getting any other max
I just don't
contract
think
guys.
that's a good enough trio.
So,
ultimately, if it's not, then I guess you don't do it.
That's my point.
Okay.
It's almost like saying, would you take his contract of $240 and trade it for Darius Garland's $240?
It's essentially swapping that.
And I would be like, I like his $240 better than Darius's $240.
True.
Like, it's just because he's taller, he can shoot, he gives you more length. He is exactly what you need at a 3 position. That move definitely facilitates you being able to move Mobley to the 5. And then it makes Jared Allen, you can look at it and say, okay, well, do I need to get something for Jared Allen to bolster and do something else? One for one, I like the move because, yes, he's injury prone, but Darius Garland is slighter frame. Darius Garland has been injured. And it frees up the fact that I don't necessarily have to get rid of Jared Allen if I don't want to get rid of Jared Allen.
But I would still trade Jared.
But I still probably would. But I could get more. Now, then Jared Allen's contract really looks good, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's true. Mike, I know, a lot of the guys you've brought up are nice players, and they're cheaper. But what's the point if they're not as good as him? Well, I'd rather take the risk on him being healthy for a year or two in the playoffs, because I don't care if he misses the regular season. Yeah. I only care about the playoffs. So if I could, if he were healthy, if he were 100% healthy for a postseason, you don't think they could win the East?
I just don't
the way the East is currently constituted.
So what Brandon Ingram gives you, is an iso ball scorer. Right. So we want more movement, right? You guys said all year you didn't like the my turn, your turn, pick and roll.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon Ingram doesn't need a pick. He just wants you to get the hell out of the side of the court, and he's going to go one-on-one. I was digging through NBA.com today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The cons of Brandon Ingram as a scorer. And Brandon Ingram's a good player. Mm-hmm. I'm just pointing out how his style, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily mesh exactly with how the Cavs want to play. 49.8% of his shot attempts came when he had the ball and took at least 3 dribbles. So he's not doing anything in motion. He is get out the way.
What's Donovan's percentage on that? Do you know?
No, but I could look it up. But he had 33.3% of his shot attempts came between 3 and 6 dribbles. 16.5% of his shot attempts came on 7+ dribbles. That's a large iso ball philosophy.
So wait, 50% is 3 or less dribbles.
Yeah, which is half of the time he is catching, dribbling, going.
Right.
That takes out all the catch and shoot threes. Yeah. Let me just go through the rest of the numbers.
Okay.
He attempted, we talk about space, right? We need spacing. He attempted 1,017 field goals in 2024. 350 of them came on mid-range pull-up jumpers. So you can't really play like Ingram plus 2 non-shooting bigs doesn't equal the spacing I think.
But they're not going to do that. We would assume if you make the trade, you trade Allen.
I'm just giving you why I think stylistically he's not necessarily a great fit. He only took 33 corner threes all last season. Mm-hmm. So what does Donovan do best? Drive, get into the paint, kick to the corners, which is where you thought Niang, who turned out to be a disaster, did not come through. It's where you thought Strus, who you thought would be a perfect fit, did not come through. Brandon Ingram took 33 corner threes all season. He took 207 from above the break, which means he ain't getting in the corner. So from a stylistic standpoint of pairing him and Donovan Mitchell, if you expect to run a more cohesive, free-flowing offense, you're getting a guy who needs the ball and takes and dribbles the ball more than Darius Garland, who granted he's 6'9" and is bigger.
Yeah.
But stylistically, he's just a stretched-out version of Darius Garland.
Are you sure he dribbles more than Darius Garland?
I'll look at Darius.
And by the way, is part of the reason he didn't shoot a lot of corner threes because he didn't have a guy to get him the ball there? I mean, or no? I'm just asking you.
I mean, listen.
Stylistic more than not a guy.
Hey, guess what? Listen, we got a guy. I know a guy that can hit corner threes. Amani Bates is playing next year. His red shirt year is over. You thought, matter of fact, put Amani Bates. I want him. Listen, there's a good chance that Amani's going to play in the Summer League again.
100%.
Oh, hey, listen. we gonna see something special. We repeating back to back.
Summer League champs.
Summer League back to back.
That ever happened?
We back to back. We about to get it done.
If it's going back.
Did he win the MVP last year?
No. What's the name? Isaiah Mobley. He'll be playing too. He'll be playing in Summer League.
Isaiah Mobley's brother won the MVP of the Summer League.
Listen, he was creating and doing all kind of stuff in the Summer League.
I didn't remember that. But that's how important Summer League was. I didn't remember.
When we made numbers last year. Let me tell you this though. All jokes aside. When you look at Ingram,
I got your numbers for you.
I know for a fact that going into it, he's injury prone. I know for a fact that he likes the ISO. But I also know for a fact that he's better than Darius Garland for the squad. Now,
those are all true, by the way.
Those are all true, right? So here's the way I look at it, Bull. It's the same way what the Cleveland Browns did, right? I'll make the analogy. Baker Mayfield, you had him. You had the roster around. You went for the splash trade. You went and got Odell Beckham Jr. Everything was ready. You had the team in the prime, Nick Chubb in his prime. You still got Myles Garrett. You got Denzel Ward. And then the quarterback didn't work. When they don't work, you're going to have to gamble. It's just what it is. Like, there's no safe off-ramp when you miss on a guy.
Yeah.
And we have come to the conclusion that they missed on Darius Garland. In basketball, you have to be exact, calculated, and you got to hit. Think about how the Boston Celtics, right? How many iterations they had of the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
But going way back to the LeBron times. The Kyrie, we missed on that. Kemba Walker, we missed on that. Man, we had Tatum and Brown. They had to figure out, well, what do we do? We need to bring in Porzingis. We need to ship out.
They had Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart got to go. Yeah. So you got to gamble. So for us, there is no safe off-ramp. It could Ingram be not exactly what you want, or it could be injured, sure. But we missed on Darius Garland. So at the end of the day, we had to make sure that you can sustain and build around the guys you got left. You're going to have to take some chances, right?
Yeah. And by the way, the Celtics took a chance on Porzingis, another injury-prone guy,
and he's
hurt now.
Who's injured,
but
right?
they kept winning. Is he coming back for the finals or no?
Yeah, they have a week off for the finals, so he's expected back.
Any chance? Percentage chance Minnesota wins 3 more in a row and wins the series?
3.
3%?
Yeah.
2.5.
I'm giving them 5%. What do you think of that?
Great.
I want him to win.
So you asked about Donovan's stats in terms of the dribbles. Donovan took 60% of his shots after 3 dribbles. So you taking and Darius real quick. I switch tabs.
After with 3 or less.
3 or more.
3 or more dribbles.
Yeah. So he gets the ball, dribbles at least 3 times before shooting.
Are you saying that it's a good thing or a bad thing?
Neither. It's just when he gets the ball stops because he's dribbling.
So Donovan
does it more than
Brandon Ingram.
Yes, but you want Donovan doing it a lot more than you want. My point is pairing them together doesn't solve your issue of, hey, we want an offense, G.
Yeah.
Those two don't run offense. Those two individually
well, no matter
run
who you put with him, isn't that going to be the same thing with Donovan Mitchell?
No. It depends on which system they bring in, what you want to create. We just yelled at that's where coaching comes in.
Yeah.
But we just yelled at.
But we yelled it because they didn't have anybody else that was as good. If Brandon Ingram's as good as Donovan Mitchell
but he's not.
as a scorer.
That's my point.
Well, all right.
Not.
But he's closer to Donovan Mitchell than anybody else they have.
The people who love Brandon Ingram haven't watched Brandon Ingram play a ton of basketball. That's the consensus he's been wherever he's been.
One of my
wherever he's
podcast producers, Max, is a Pelicans fan. He likes Brandon Ingram.
He's not bad. You see all the.
But he's better than anybody the Cavs have. Yes, except for Donovan Mitchell, of course.
Like right now.
Yeah.
He's a one-time All-Star. Like he had a.
So who's better than him? You think?
I think if you want to make a case that Darius Garland's better than Brandon Ingram, I think you could make a case.
Well, you just agreed with G 2 minutes ago that Brandon
Ingram is better. I think you got to break up the backcourt. I'm saying he's a better fit.
So who's the answer? You gave us a list of slapdicks last week.
Well, I said
they're not as good as Brandon
Ingram was on the list. I just think he's their 3rd best wing. Like on that same team, there's a reason he's the one that they're trying to ship out.
Yeah.
So I do.
He might be the most realistically acquirable.
I do.
But he's their 3rd best wing.
I think. Here's the thing. I think one of the things that Donovan Mitchell came to the conclusion of, and he'll never say this, but he looked at Darius Garland and was like, I'm trying to get you to get here, and I don't think I can get you there.
It's mental. A lot of it's mental.
I don't think I can. I don't think I can get you there.
Right.
Right. Like, and one of the things that when you make that decision, I don't know if I could get you there. And when he's sitting there on the bench, I'll give you an example. The Dallas Mavericks. You see what it looked like when you get 2 dudes that understand it. Say what you want. Kyrie Irving ain't gonna fold.
No.
Like when you talk about his mentality, he don't fold. Luka Doncic is not folding. Like Luka's bending over like dang, like man, my knees hurt. He walking all ginger. Like those 2 dudes is monsters here. They're not gonna fold up. And when you got Donovan Mitchell, he said, I gotta figure out what are we gonna get. How can we upgrade that mentality? If you give me him and I got a 6'9" Ingram and I got Evan Mobley and I got Donovan Mitchell, right? You still got Jared Allen as 2 non-bigs. But can you get me something for Jared Allen that looks like, hey, give me somebody at the 2 guard or give me somebody that's going to be a defensive-minded guy.
The question Earl asked was, would you be interested in Brandon Ingram?
Of course.
My answer is yes.
Yeah.
Is he the top of my list of my interested candidates? No. But would I be interested? Absolutely.
Who's the top of your list?
In a perfect world, like I mentioned Trey Murphy.
In a realistic world.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like Trey Murphy, who I don't think New Orleans would trade.
But you're saying he's better than Brandon Ingram.
Trey Murphy's better than Brandon Ingram, yes.
Now, Brandon Ingram scored way more points than him, right?
19.5 versus 15.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes him better? He just does other things
younger,
better?
way cheaper, a better three-point
Well, I don't
shooter.
care about the money for this purposes.
He's a better three-point shooter. He's a better defender. He has way less injury history, and he fits into an offense. Brandon Ingram, part of his issue ever has been...
Why did he score more then?
Because he was playing 24 minutes a game.
Why? He's that good.
Because he's on a second-year player.
Yeah.
Him and Herb Jones split the primary defense.
So you're speculating that he's better, but
There's a reason one is untouchable right now and one is very much tradable.
Okay.
The Pelicans are looking at that. But, like, realistically speaking, guys who are acquirable at the 3 position, Brandon Ingram might end up being
we got to be realistic, Mike. They're not going to trade a second-year player for an overpaid Darius.
But I'm not saying. I'm just saying, like, when you look at all the guys, he might be the best free agent / trade target available at that position. And if that's the case,
I don't care about
you go
the
out
money.
and do
That's
it.
Dave Gilbert's problem.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying, if he's the best situation you could get, then sure. But I don't think you can set your goals as Brandon Ingram is the guy that we think completes this Cavs team, because I don't think he actually solves the issue.
Could you maximize that trade by bolstering it with another one? Like, okay, if you got Ingram has his warts, he has his shortcomings. Could you then go and say, okay, well, we got another trade piece that we
Jared Allen.
Jared Allen, and we back up when he doesn't do well with.
So who's interested in Jared Allen?
I think teams that Jared Allen makes sense for, New Orleans, another team, but he doesn't make enough money to do that straight one-for-one trade. Also, if you tried doing Darius for Brandon, you'd have to send more with Darius.
I wanted to do C.J. McCollum, and I want C.J. McCollum, and I want Brandon Ingram.
But that's another little guard.
For Jared Allen and Darius Garland.
You send more money back. C.J. makes a big ton of money, too.
I'll give him Karis LeVert. Look,
See,
hold on.
I don't like that.
Now, what? So look at the lineup. You got Donovan Mitchell. You got C.J. McCollum. You got Brandon Ingram. You got Evan Mobley.
Well, how are you going to get McCollum and Ingram?
I'm trading Allen and Garland.
So who's your center?
Evan Mobley.
Who's your 4?
You find a 4. Find somebody.
He said 2 for 2.
I want 2 for 2. I want C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram.
Oh, okay.
For Jared Allen and Darius Garland. 1 through 4.
Does that make sense to you? I mean, how much CJ's from here, obviously.
Yeah, I don't love.
What has he got left in the tank?
Not as much as I think you would need.
How old is C.J. McCollum?
Older than you. He beat Duke in like 1963.
But you have a bona fide 2 guard.
Yeah.
You have a you got.
CJ's 32.
So he's 32 years old. I didn't know he was that old. Dang, you came out when you was 26, CJ.
That's what I'm saying. He came out a long time ago. He can still play.
Last year he averaged 20, 4.5, shot 46% from the field.
Yeah, I mean, New Orleans had a bunch
Don't everybody in Canton stay around the corner from each other?
Yeah,
Don't you know his
man.
peoples?
Listen, come on back to the spot.
New Orleans had a bunch of guys who scored last year.
Can we get Costa Kufos back too? He's still playing in the league?
I don't think so.
Nah. He lasted longer than I thought he would last. I mean, good grace.
He's from Canton too, right?
Yeah.
Byron Mullins, the list of Ohio State
DJ Mullins, that's crazy, man.
So you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't make that trade if you were the Cavs.
2 for 2, nah. You get more, I think, in my opinion. I think you get the maximum value for those 2 in individual trades.
Okay.
I don't think packaging them together gets you your maximum.
So if you had to trade for McCollum or Ingram, you trade for Ingram.
Ingram and a heartbeat, yeah.
All right, so Garland and what for Ingram?
Garland and they probably want to pick. I mean, I don't know how many young assets they really have.
All right, and then
the money's pretty close.
What's your Allen trade?
On the spot?
Are you trading him for a 2 guard, or are you trading him for a 4 that can shoot?
I think.
Yeah.
Well, because Ingram could be your technical 4, even though he's a 3. He's like the stretch
Okay,
forward. You got Stru still.
Yeah.
But my fear
is what?
Is if, and I was telling this to Earl yesterday, if you trade Darius, I don't think Donovan's an 82-game point guard.
No, you bring in a veteran point guard for
Minimowski.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So is that the avenue you try and split up Jared Allen into a decent veteran point guard and a stretch wing, but the 2 pieces may not equal Jared Allen? Do you try going 1 for 1? Do you go picks so that he can swap picks? There's a million different avenues. It depends on the team you're trading with.
Can we get Collins? Where's John Collins at?
He's on the trade block. You can have him for whatever you want.
But listen, that's a stretch for.
I actually don't hate John Collins.
That's a stretch
for. What teams you got, Atlanta?
No, he's Utah now.
Utah now.
He was on Atlanta, right? Or
he was. And then Ant Edwards dunked him back into the shadow realm mid-season.
But does Utah want
no, they've been trying
Jared
to
Allen?
No, they have no need for Jared Allen.
So who would want Jared Allen besides New Orleans?
New Orleans, Oklahoma City, who would never do a deal with the Cavs.
The Lakers.
The Lakers actually could use him. San Antonio, I think, makes sense.
Denver, Dallas.
What could you get?
Dallas
could you get?
Nah, they got.
Could you get Devin Vassell, or however you pronounce his name?
Vassell? I do a little more digging. I don't know.
He's a 2, right?
Vassell is a 2. Yeah, he fits. Yeah. He fits in what they're looking for.
Could you get? I mean, is that crazy? Allen that seems like Vassal's better than Jared Allen, no? Or am I nuts?
Well, Vassal just signed the extension, so he makes more money now.
Yeah.
Well, he probably just straight up.
I mean, how good? If you had a starting lineup of Donovan Mitchell, Devin Vassal, Brandon Ingram, Strus, and Mobley, how good is that team in the East?
Should be a top 3 team.
Okay, you probably had to trade LeVert as part of to make some money work. So who the hell's on your bench?
That's kind of
Imani Bates.
Listen, the theoretical trades are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot more than just player to player because how the rest.
Well,
of the
you'd have your
falls.
boy, what's his name, Dean Wade. He'd be on
Still
the bench.
have Dean Wade.
You have.
I think teams are gonna try to trade for Dean Wade this summer. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Denver.
You have.
Keep an eye on Denver.
Who else would you have on the bench? You have
Craig Porter Jr.
Craig Porter Jr. I'm not excited about him. Sam Merrill.
Sam Merrill's still back. You got Niang still.
Ooh.
Can't trade him. He's kind of stuck.
You need a big man, the backup big man.
Bring up Damian James.
And you need a backup. But you need a guy who can play legitimate, like 20 minutes a night.
I agree.
And you need a legitimate, point guard.
Yeah.
Veteran point guard.
Yeah. Ty Jerome. See if he's alive.
Nah, forget. He's
See if
slappy.
he's alive.
You got to get a real guy.
I'm just telling you, you're kind of hamstrung at that point with money.
Well, you got a veteran who maybe thinks they could, would you bring Marcus Morris back?
I would like to, yeah.
As a bench player?
Yep.
He'd be cheap. Well. He'd be cheap.
Yeah. All right, Earl, what you got?
All right, so we're going to move on. We had another topic, but we're not going to force it. We're going to do top 5, but before we do a top 5.
Oh, you don't want to do your other, your Cavs topic, Earl?
No, I'm going to say that.
What was the other topic? I forgot.
I'm going to save that.
I don't remember it now.
It was the Bull Special, the coaching candidate.
Do you all want to do it?
Yeah, we'll do top 5 for overtime.
All right, cool.
The one that I mentioned, I don't even remember it now.
You were
all right, so let me set it up for you. But before that, let's get this read in.
Yeah.
Catch the latest episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Cavaliers show tonight at 5 o'clock. Mikey McNuggets and Jason Lloyd. Mike, what you all got on tap?
We're gonna do a little bit of coaching search update, and I also have some comps, Cavs players to current NFL quarterbacks, which we're gonna bring back to the show on Friday. So you and Bull can't watch this.
Okay.
I'm gonna get Jason's opinion on some of these comps tonight, and then on Friday on UCSS, we're going to bring it to you guys.
All right.
Okay.
See what you guys think. But I think it's going to be fun. We got 9 of them. Some are a little obscure. Some I know Earl and Ant didn't agree with, so we're going to prove why I'm right and they're wrong.
All right, so catch the Ultimate Cavs show tonight at 5 o'clock. The top 5 I was going to do, we'll do it in overtime. We're going to fly through that, though. Got stuff we got to get taken care of. So, of course, right now the Cleveland Cavaliers are in the midst of the search for their next head coach. And we've talked a lot about player development. We've talked a lot about culture. We've talked a lot about just creating a system, with this being a small market franchise, et cetera. And there's 2 names that we're going to discuss that fits the criteria but probably won't get the job. But in my opinion, they should be just as high as candidates as anybody else.
Oh, yeah, this category. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about
up,
the possibility of either Becky Hammond or Don Staley being the Cleveland Cavaliers' next head coach?
I'm glad we did this topic because, yes, I mentioned this. Because I brought up Becky Hammond recently. Now, the issue with Dawn Staley is she's never coached in the NBA as an assistant, right? Yep. So that would I think she's got to do some. If she I don't know if she's interested, but I wouldn't hire her as a head coach, even though she's done an amazing job as head coach, because she has no experience in the NBA. So to me, I don't want to coach man or woman or anything that has no experience in the NBA. I'm not interested personally. Now, Becky Hammond does have a lot of experience in the NBA, and absolutely Dawn Staley, if she wanted to, could get an assistant coaching job, I assume, right now in the NBA if she wanted to. I don't know if she has any interest in that at all. But I'll talk about I was thinking about Becky Hammond, and I was thinking this morning, I was like, the reality is that probably nobody's going to hire her, whether she's qualified or not, whether Dawn Staley's qualified or not, because no matter what we say and no matter how we may feel personally or I may feel personally, there's going to be players on the team that are going to be not respond or be a jerk about a woman being a coach. And I said, well, nobody's going to hire her for that. And then I thought about it more. And I know this is not apples to apples, because it's sex versus race. So it's not the exact same thing. I get it. But, there were probably when Branch Rickey, who was the general manager of the Dodgers and the owner of the Dodgers, decided he was going to hire Jackie Robinson to play baseball for him. There were probably, I'm sure he wasn't the only GM that thought about bringing in a black player at the time. And maybe he was. But my guess is there were probably a couple of others, and they said, you know what, we can't do it because there's going to, even if it's not every guy, there's going to be some guys on this team that it's going to be impossible. It's going to be a bad situation. It's going to hurt our team. But Branch Rickey knew that. When Branch Rickey said, I'm signing Jackie Robinson, I don't care this, even if it's going to hurt my team. There's going to be players on this team that are racist, and they're not going to want Jackie Robinson here. And, of course, that happened. There were some players on the Brooklyn Dodgers who embraced Jackie, and there were plenty of players that did not. And did it cause problems? Did it make it? I don't know. So many years ago, I don't know. And how would I know how it affected the team in terms of wins, losses immediately? But the point is, that could have just been the excuse forever.
Yeah.
That could have been an excuse for the end of time. And Branch Rickey was the first one that had the balls enough to say, I don't care. This is wrong. We've got to make a change. I've got to bring in Jackie Robinson. And again, I get it. It's not race, it's sex. But there's more similarities in this situation than there are differences. And it's going to take one GM to say, just like Branch Rickey said, Jackie Robinson's a great baseball player. He's going to help my team win. Other players are going to have to deal with it. There's going to have to be a GM that says, and Becky Hammon probably deserves the first crack because she has the experience in the league, who says, Becky Hammon is a fantastic coach. She has NBA experience. If there are 3 players on this team that are going to be a jerk about a woman being the coach, well, I'll trade them or they're going to have to get over it. Somebody's got to do it. Does anybody have the guts to do it right now? I don't know. But hopefully somebody will.
I think one of the things that we have to do is you got to take a look at us as a society and say, are we going to be about the lip service?
That's right.
Or are we really going to do the work and we really going to be about it? Because, I saw the NFL. The NFL was about the lip service. When you go back to the Deshaun Watson thing, they hired a judge who had thousands of years of experience.
Right.
And as soon as they didn't like what she said, they disregarded her.
Well, and to your point, sorry to cut you off, G, but it backs up what you're saying here. I was even thinking when Jim Trotter asked him about minorities in NFL media, and they just got him out of there.
So
and nothing changed.
Nothing changed.
Yeah,
it could happen, but it has to happen specifically because Branch Rickey had a plan.
Yes, 100%.
It has to be the owner at the top. The owner at the top says, if we won't stand for any of it.
Right.
If you got a problem with it, here's the door. We're trading you immediately. The general manager has to have an understanding with when you bringing players in, you got bring guys, make sure they fit the system.
Right.
And if they got a problem with it, we'll get them up out of here. And then the most critical piece is she has to go to an organization and that the star player has to be on board.
That's it right there.
That's it.
Everything else you said was irrelevant until that point.
And then when the star player's on board and he says, hey, I'm going to pay attention, so you got to pay attention, and we ain't going to be doing all this other type stuff.
That's it.
Then it'll work. But do you see how many pieces and parts you got to be on board with to even get it to start? You got to have 4 pieces.
Right.
You're right.
It's
the
just
star player shouldn't matter.
But it does.
It does, but it shouldn't. And yeah, I mean,
we're seeing it in the Lakers right now.
It's got to be the right person too, because Jackie Robinson wasn't the best black baseball player at the time. I don't know if people thought he was. He was very good, and he was a great major league player, and he made the Hall of Fame, deservedly so. But he wasn't the best baseball player.
He had the right temperament.
But he was he was good, he was very good, and he was the right guy. Again, this is different. But Becky Hammon seems like the right choice because she's got the most experience in the NBA. She's been around NBA players, that part. She's a great coach with the Women's Professional League, 2 straight championships, and a Coach of the Year. And she has the experience as a head coach, at a high level and has succeeded, and experience as a player, and experience in the NBA. She's the only woman, I believe, that has all those markers.
McNuggets, you know people that are actually on the bench around the league. How would they react to that?
I think it's by person basis. I think most would be fine with it. At the end of the day, and you played for enough coaches. I played for enough coaches. Well, you've been around enough coaches. You can coach, you can coach. Mm-hmm. Like at the end of the day, it's the initial, what are we doing appeal that turns into, oh, this person has great ideas. It doesn't matter. But that's not how society works. We know that. Society is not based off a blind resume, because you look at Dawn Staley or Becky Hammon's blind resume and you say, hey, this is the resume of a coach we're looking at, and here's James Borrego's resume. We don't have names on it. Their resumes look a way lot better than the ones the Cavs are actually considering right now. I don't think Hammond or Staley will get any consideration for the Cavs job. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I don't believe that they'll have any type of discussion. I think if Becky Hammond is going to get a job, it'll be in San Antonio when Greg Popovich anoints her as his replacement.
Right.
And that organization already has the infrastructure in place. But it comes down to the star player.
Yeah.
And we're seeing with the Lakers right now. LeBron James wants J.J. Redick to be his head coach. J.J. Redick is going to be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. It doesn't matter who else they interviewed. It doesn't matter who Jeannie Buss wants. It's who LeBron James wants. And in most organizations, when you have a superstar player of the caliber of LeBron, they get coaches fired, and then they get the coach hired who they want to play for, who they don't want to play for.
And that's unique to basketball.
It is. It is. So if Donovan Mitchell came out and told Dan Gilbert, I want Dawn Staley to be my head coach, Dan Gilbert's going to call Dawn Staley.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I have no idea if he has or hasn't. I'm not reporting it. I'm just saying I haven't heard anything like that. But it comes down to the star player. If you get the star player to buy in, everyone else falls in line. And I think because of the repertoire and the relationship between Wemby and Pop, I do think whenever Pop decides to retire, and if Becky Hammond keeps winning at the caliber and the level she's winning at every stage she's ever been at, I do think there's a good chance that is the organization. With Wemby, who, from all things I've read, has had conversations with everyone in the Spurs organization about their succession plan after Pop and who they want. Like, that to me makes more sense than here in Cleveland.
And of all the big sports,
I agree.
It's got to be basketball, because there's no women's professional football league. If there is,
we've seen the Marlins had a
GM, female GM, but there's no women don't play professional baseball. They play softball, but it's similar, but it's not women's basketball, men's basketball. Yeah, the ball's a little smaller, and the courts, the 3-point line is closer. But the sport itself is essentially it's the same. Basically, got most of the same rules. So that's there you go.
Let me throw my 2 cents in here. I think you all made some great points, but I'm going to give it to you from this perspective, and it's so simple. At the end of the day, women make the world go round, right? We all come from a woman, and the first love of our life is usually our mom, right? Women impact change. I think women are the first coaches we have in life, and I think that, just my opinion, I think women kind of have a way of making men pay attention more than usual, or they get us to do things that we wouldn't normally do more than usual. These are a bunch of young men in those locker rooms, and I'm not saying every young man has respect for their elders or for their mom, but for the most part, they do. Everybody love their mother and their grandmother, and I just think that when we look at society, when we look at everyday life, like we call this Mother Nature, women play a significant role in so many different things, and it'd be crazy, like when we have these conversations, that it seems like they're not good enough to coach in professional sports, but they're good enough to be a life coach in every single day of life.
Well, certainly they're good enough. It's just the opportunity.
I always laugh, shake my head, and scratch my head and stuff like that. Like,
some people are always going to be closed-minded to these things, Earl. Unfortunately, not everybody's as open-minded as we in this group happen to be. And I agree with your sentiments there. And, I wonder, part of me makes me think young people today are more self-centered than ever, but young people today are also more sensitive than ever, I think. And in a way, maybe that helps a woman get an opportunity, because women are generally more sensitive than men. So maybe some of these young athletes would rather play for a woman that they feel is going to be more sensitive, and not in a negative way like soft, but sensitive to their needs as a human. And maybe they, like, you know, players want to be coached. They also want to feel like the coach loves them, right? Don't you want to have that feeling? I don't know. Maybe did you?
Yeah.
Did you want to feel like your coach cared about you?
You know what?
And women are better showing.
You know what I cared about?
Generally.
Winning.
No, okay.
If you bring me them dubs, I don't care.
All I know is
winning.
That every doctor, I purposely go to female doctors because I feel like they care more, and that's not always fair. The only doctor I go to that's a man is for my what, because that's a part that women don't have. You know, we
got super chats real quick, Earl.
There's gonna have to be some stuff.
Nope. All right, perfect.
It's gonna have to take a special organization.
Yeah,
I think
San Antonio probably makes the most sense
because he can name a successor, and sometimes
and she's built up.
You need.
She's
somebody.
built up.
Could you see Miami too? Maybe.
Well, they got it, coach, forever.
Yeah, he's young, but
so like it'll
no
have
super
to
chats.
be.
You said, Earl.
We got Earl's top 5 list in overtime. Earl, give us a little teaser. What is the top 5?
It don't got burgers with cheese on it, I can tell you that.
Oh, my God.
It's his 5 favorite foods coming up in overtime. And I'm excited to rip Earl.
We'll see. I got a thought on LeBron, too, in overtime.